OTBAM.
Brought to you by Avantcard Reward Plus Credit Card. Powered by MasterCard. Straight up better than your current credit card. Avantcard DAC is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
A very good morning to you. Welcome along to OTBAM, where bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and Owen Sheehan's Lionesses took one hell of a beating last night. You and Maggie Thatcher and Sir Winston Churchill, Sir Clement Attlee, your women took one hell of a beating, Owen.
It perfectly suits you that you would be a US WNT fan. Great. Because the enjoyment is there with rubbing victory in other people's faces, which seems to be something that the US WNT tends to get a lot of pleasure out of. I mean, obviously one of the best teams we've ever seen.
They were very gracious in victory last night.
You're joking, obviously.
Afterwards, they were. Last night they were.
You're joking.
What?
This is obviously a piss take that you're saying that the USWNT were gracious in victory last night. I thought the mixed zone scenes were embarrassing, to be honest. And the audio, now we didn't actually see the video of this, but the celebrating behind a losing player's back in the mixed zone. They're roaring into it. They were roaring into a mixed zone.
Let's hear it from last night.
Lovely ball, Morgan!
Yeah, you know, I think tonight I expected Alex to grab a goal, but I'm not that happy with that celebration. You can celebrate however you want, but that for me is a bit distasteful, and I don't think she needs to do that. She can celebrate however she wants, and I'm a big believer in the Americans and how they celebrate, but for me this was a little bit disrespectful. I could be wrong, but it's based upon playing against England, and we love our tea in England. I'm not a tea drinker, but you know, that's what we're connected with, so I'm a little bit, I think it's a little bit distasteful.
Can a remarkable captain, a remarkable human being, take a remarkable penalty? Horton, save! Millie Bright. The second yellow card has come out, and here comes the red. The United States have done it.
This allowed goal was offside. You know, we've had the VAR decisions that's gone our way. We got on with it. We came back. We obviously got the penalty. You know, we score them. We miss them. That's football. And then Millie, who shouldn't have got booked in the first half, 100%. I thought the referee wasn't really in control of the game, to be honest with you. I can't ask for anything more. We've had the time of our lives, and they've really played their hearts out.
Does it feel like failure?
Yeah, at the minute it does. Obviously, I think for us, we're a group of winners. We want to win as many games as we possibly can, and to lose one in the way that we have, it's disappointing. This group will bounce back. Whoever's a part of that group. Well, that was no need, was there, really?
No, there was no need for that at all. That was Lindsay Horan shouting, which is just a bit disrespectful.
Ridiculous.
I'm sorry, but that's
disrespectful, man. Yeah, anyway, can I go now, please?
Of course you can. Thank you, Steph.
Oh, they're such bad losers. They're such bad losers. Oh, you can't celebrate. You've just won a place in the World Cup final. You're not allowed to celebrate. Oh, come on. Tone policing bullshit from the England team. Bad.
I think there's a difference between being a bad loser.
Empire bad losers. Your empire's crumbling, lady, and that empire over there is the one that you can't get at. You've got empire envy. That's what you have.
Is that not all covered in 1776 or whatever? It's pretty okay.
Choke on my tea, buddy.
To be fair, the celebration was class. I did enjoy that, but that's what a celebration is. Like, that is all part of it, and that is a real smackdown when it comes to celebration mid-game as well. If that gets into an opposition player's head, that could have a psychological impact on them. So all for the celebration, all for the tea drinking celebration. But again, we didn't see the video last night, but that journalist saying there's no need for that, or
there's no need to celebrate the fact that you're in a World Cup final and you beat our team.
Celebrating in somebody's face in a mixed zone of all places, in a mixed zone.
Well, I mean, what is a mixed zone except a line where people are standing?
It's done. Like it's over.
Stop celebrating.
Go celebrate amongst your own players. Like seeing an opposition player and then having the urge to actually rub it in their faces. Like I actually just don't get the urge for that. Maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm completely out of my own here. I get the idea that after you score a goal and celebrating and do the tea drinking thing, I think it's kind of funny. I think it's a very, very good celebration. But that bit at the end, I was kind of like, actually no. The sort of distaste that I had for this USWNT is actually prevailing here. I actually just do not like this team.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's your prerogative. It is, but oh my God, I can't believe you're celebrating. That's uncalled for. Come on, get a grip.
Who's saying that they shouldn't be celebrating? I'm not saying that whatsoever.
Whoever was being interviewed. Who was being interviewed?
It was Houghton, wasn't it? Yeah, it was Houghton being interviewed. Steph Houghton. Yeah, it was her. So yeah, it was and that's what kind of made it worse for me, was that obviously the penalty and all that. So I don't know. I just think that's.
Was it not Ellen White? No.
Was it Ellen White?
I thought it would have been. I wasn't sure that Houghton did that much mix on. She certainly left mix on in tears anyway. It was Houghton. All right. So then she left the mix on in tears after that, or had she been crying before that?
I don't know. Somebody misses a penalty to get knocked out of the World Cup, and your first thing is you see her. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and celebrate further in her face.
I haven't seen a video of this. What?
Well, but I would trust the tone of the journalist there. The tone of yes, I would.
You would trust the post-match interview of an English journalist in an English World Cup semi-final is going to be totally fine.
Well, also,
I mean, remember Garth Crooks having sex with Sven-Goran Eriksson? First time that two men have had sex in the BBC, according to Damon Duffy. I mean, obviously, I think he was wrong.
Let's not judge everything by Gareth Crooks' levels here.
Well, it's the BBC. Jonathan Pearce's commentary is ridiculous.
Was that definitely a BBC journalist?
I don't know, but
see, that's the thing. We don't know.
Certainly, it was okay. I don't have any faith in the post-match interviewing skills of the English hacks after a World Cup defeat, when everything is proud and it was amazing and you were great and you got done by the referee and that poor penalty. Did the bobble was there? Did what's his name move the penalty for? Come on, English football is absolutely awash with conspiracy bullshit that indulges the worst instincts of human beings, especially in post-match. So, I'd like to see the video. I'm gonna.
What if we don't get the video? Like, I mean, why is
the video?
Why are you suddenly giving the benefit of the doubt to the team that have proved themselves to be the most arrogant team in this competition by a long shot?
Nonsensical.
Why are you giving them the benefit of the doubt?
I mean, because they scored 12 and 13 goals and they celebrated them, because they're playing football, enjoying playing football in the World Cup at a higher level than anybody's ever seen.
I think there's a difference between enjoyment. There's a difference between enjoyment and going into the mix zone and saying, "Oh, look at that woman who just ended her entire nation's hopes in the World Cup. Do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to roar into her face, roar behind her, whatever it is. I'm going to.
I mean, she could have been just
crush her. It's all been done, and we may not play for another 4 years.
Too much speculation involved in this. I want to see the video, and otherwise, you are absolutely entitled to celebrate all night long. They should still be celebrating right now.
Of course you are, but like in that mix zone, I think it's a bit different. I think it was.
There's no quarantine area called the mix zone where you're not allowed. Oh, you must now. I'm sorry. There's a funeral here.
Of course she's allowed to do it. Of course she's allowed to do it.
Like the 1950 Mayo team and the whoever it was steps out when there's the funeral. I mean, no.
And look what happened to them.
Well, exactly. America are not going to suffer the same curse as Mayo. Let's go to Lahinch, where apparently it's much calmer this morning. John Duggan, good morning to you.
Jaron Owen, I'm sipping my tea here like Alex Morgan. So.
Very good. How is it?
It's just great. I'm buzzed, guys. I'm so buzzed. I've just seen Joe Malloy. He's ready to play in the Pro-Am in a few minutes' time. So he was in a rush off to get onto that first tee. So it's going to be great here. The weather's fantastic. It's just an amazing part of the world. Great county, of course, Clare. And, of course, it's been 127 years here, designed by the guy who also designed Augusta National, Alistair Mackenzie, who redid it in 1927, while old Tom Morris, originally designed it back in the day, in the last century, even the century before that. But some of the Pro-Am names are kind of funny: Enda Kenny, Niall Horan, Brian McFadden, David Fitzgerald, Keith Duffy,
Joe
Canning, Joe Malloy, Dermot Whelan, Joe Canning, Shane O'Donnell, Cian Lynch. Is a funny one as well. You've got, Beef Johnston, the Beef.
Yeah.
He's playing with Paul O'Connell and Shane Byrne and Keith Wood. So some great names here this morning.
Who's the beefiest of the player? Wait, we can make that joke to Keith Wood tomorrow.
Yeah. So yeah, no, I'm really excited. Shane Lowry, I was speaking to him yesterday. He said that the course is in fantastic nick. Paul McGinley seems to have done a great job, as he would always do, with organising the whole tournament. They've got park and ride facilities. The town is going to be pedestrianised here. There's bunting up. There's a real buzz around the place, and just great to see a European Tour event, like the whole road show with the circus and the massive kind of industrial setup of a European Tour event planted into Lahinch and Clare on the coast of the Wild Atlantic Way.
Yeah, it is great. I think that's one of the things that people don't fully appreciate until you actually get down there, just the scale of the operation to make the whole thing as seamless and flawless as it is. So the golfers could feel like they're anywhere in the world, apart from obviously the test of the course itself. We'll talk to you about the golf a little bit later on. We'll get your preview of who you think is going to win, who's going to do well, and your tips a little bit later on in the show. But in terms of the actual atmosphere around the town, you know, sometimes the players complain if these things aren't in a capital city because flights can be a little bit difficult, and so there needs to be enough to make up for it. And the course itself, obviously, in this instance is that. But from a tourist perspective, from a golf fan's perspective, it's all about the event. It's all about the staging and Lahinch being able to take the crowds. How has that been so far?
That's been great. It's just like... it is a small town, that's the first thing, but like you got Shannon Airport near here, like I think they've got diversions for people looking to go to the Cliffs of Moher and up Liscannor way, so I've even seen the park and rides. I think the organisation here, they've spent a long time, it's been over a year, Paul McGinley dealing with the police and the local community and Clare County Council. Like what a month it's been for the county. You've had, like whatever people think of him, President Trump has been here. This is going to be worth 6 to 7 million to the local economy. I think they'll be able to cope. Obviously, there could be up to 100,000 people here. There was like 95,000 in Ballyliffin last year, and they were able to cope up there. So I expect to be able to cope at Lahinch. But I'm just waiting for the influx of people. Like I think Kieran Shannon's playing Hermitage Green. There'll be a fireworks display here on Saturday night, and I just get that feeling of just absolute buzz, because I think that communities feel that once something is actually granted to them like this, that they really want to make the most of it, because it's not really that, as you say, that common. Like the Irish Open, for I'd say when it went on the European Tour in '75, for their first 10, 15 years, it's all in Dublin, at Portmarnock or Royal Dublin, like what you're saying. And obviously the infrastructure's improved since then. But brilliant that it can come here, and it just is about what could be achieved or what can be achieved by bringing a tournament like here to Lahinch, because most golf tournaments, like if you go to the British Open, sometimes it's like a housing estate and then there's the course. The only place that kind of really I can compare this to is St Andrews, where the actual town and the course are like literally beside each other. Yeah, and it takes over the whole town. It becomes a proper event, and the whole community buys in, the province buys in, and as a result, the whole country feels like we've got a bit of FOMO. John, good stuff. We'll talk to you a little bit later on. All right, guys.
Thanks a million. John Duggan down in Lahinch for us for the week. We'll be over and back to him right across the course of this morning. He's going to give us his tips today. And then obviously Thursday and Friday we'll be getting more details about how the actual tournament is unfolding. Here's what's coming up for you on the show this morning. Kieran Shannon's going to join us after we bring you through the newspapers, which we'll get to in just a second. We're going to talk with Kieran about the Gaelic football weekend that is coming. It's a big, big weekend. Last weekend and this weekend are actually the best weekends, I think, of Gaelic football, because there's still some teams who think that they might be able to catapult themselves to glory, and it turns out, you know, in many cases they were wrong. And then other times a team goes on a run out of nowhere and you're like, ooh, suddenly this team could actually make the semi-finals. So the power rankings, the disgraced power rankings, come back to 8:20 this morning. Owen's been up late all night after he was doing his hero worship of the England women's football team. He eventually got onto the power rankings, so we'll see what impact that had. Sports News 8:35 with Phil, England versus USA, reaction analysis. John Duggan's Irish Open tips coming your way at 8:55, and then at 9:10 it's deal or no deal. Good idea or bad idea. You can tweet us #OTBAM. It's time for the sports pages in a minute, but first we want you to check this out.
Join Off the Ball in Abu Dhabi this November 17th to 23rd for the inaugural Off the Ball Open. With flights from Dublin, 5 nights in a 4-star hotel, golf on 2 championship courses, gala awards dinner, Peter Lorry golf clinic, and a live Off the Ball roadshow. You can also hang out with some special guests, including Kevin Kilban and Kieran Donaghy. The inaugural Off the Ball Open. Book now at CassidyTravel.ie and check out offtheball.com.
The England penalties on the front page of the Irish Times. It certainly felt like everybody I know was watching both this and Love Island last night at the same time. So I don't know if they were dual screening or if there was a lot of flicking going on. But like the World Cup semi-final felt like it was a World Cup semi-final. There was no, oh, it's a women's World Cup semi-final, and only people who are interested in women's football are watching. It was like a proper, everybody's watching it. So that's England captain Steph Houghton says her penalty saved.
Terrible penalty.
It wasn't a great penalty. There was I tweeted out the Jonathan Pearce commentary, and somebody got back to me with the live minute-by-minute commentary from one of the British websites, and was like, oh, a well-struck penalty that if she just sent the keeper the wrong way, it would have been a goal. It's like, yeah, it would. If the keeper had dived the wrong way from the ball, it definitely would have been a goal. I mean, probably actually, it was so badly struck, she might have saved it with her trailing leg. Larry, unfazed by expectations as he bids to repeat history, and then a beautiful picture of people surfing on the beach in Lahinch. Moynihan hopes game will hit big time for big week, so full page of golf there, and that's the picture of Alex Morgan with the header. A beautiful header, the back post. Ndombele joined Spurs from Lyon in record deal. 55.45 million sterling plus 10 million in add-ons, which eclipses the 42 million they paid for Davinson Sanchez in 2017. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Spurs used to be really good at getting those 7 million players and then turn them into 50 million players, but maybe this is the statement of intent, is it?
Without question, the statement of intent. This guy is a no-brainer when it comes to Tottenham Hotspur signing. An absolutely outrageous talent, worth every penny of the money they're putting on the table. A brilliant piece of work.
What does he do?
From a Spurs perspective, he will be the next Moussa Dembele, I think. I think that's what they're going to get him to do. Box to box, great passer of the ball, very forward. When he has the ball at his feet, the pass will go forward. Great, he can pick out a pass, and he will be the engine room of that Tottenham Hotspur midfield, a one-man engine room, so to speak. So this is the sort of thing that Christian Eriksen looks at and is like, hold on a minute, this midfield is a hell of a lot better than the midfield I used to play in. Do I prefer playing in front of Harry Winks or Eric Dyer, or would I prefer playing in front of Ndombele? And this brings Tottenham's midfield to a new level. This is the sort of signing that Manchester United would have dreamed of, really. And it's a brilliant piece of work. And 2 signings yesterday from Tottenham Hotspur after, 521 days without a signing?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a very, very, as much as it pains me to say it, a very exciting time to be a Tottenham Hotspur fan. The Irish Independent goes with Dub's funding figures, not the full story. In his Horan, you've got Mayo sweating on O'Shea fitness and McGinley talking about the Irish Open bigger than McIlroy. We'll finish with the Dublin funding story just to go through all of these because they're all 3 good stories. McGinley's quotes on Rory McIlroy saying a guy like that who outside of Tiger is probably the most charismatic in the world. He's from Ireland and he decides not to play this year. Of course it's a body blow for the Irish Open, but I think we've recovered from that strongly, and the fact we've sellout crowds is a validation of that the Irish Open will always be bigger than any one player. Rory will be the first person to agree with that. So McGinley saying that the Irish Open is bigger than McIlroy. The other story here, Mayo sweat on O'Shea fitness. This is a potential huge blow. This is a potential season-ending injury for Mayo. If Aidan O'Shea doesn't play this weekend, you make Galway favourites. If Aidan O'Shea does play this weekend, I think you make Mayo slight favourites. So he is a slight doubt for Saturday's do-or-die clash in Limerick. The Connacht Telegraph reporting that the informed O'Shea's right foot is in a cast following the win against Armagh at the weekend. This is not good news for Mayo. They need him fit for the weekend. The thing is, though, do you take that risk? Do you take a semi-fit Aidan O'Shea? Because a semi-fit Aidan O'Shea should definitely start if it was an All-Ireland final for me. But the fact of the matter is then they would be playing 2 consecutive weeks after that. I don't know. We'll finish up on from the Irish Independent. Dub's funding figure is not the full story, insists Horan. These are some interesting quotes. John Horan talking at the launch of the Intercounty series, or the All-Ireland series yesterday in Scottstown, and he was saying people are operating off global figures because Dublin's money goes from Croke Park, whereas most of the other counties in Leinster get their money from the province by going from Croke Park to the province. He says, I think there needs to be a greater analysis of it. It's very easy to take a global figure and says it's 1 point whatever going to Dublin and whatever going to the rest. But if you actually did an analysis, how many, where is the penetration in the schools, which is a lot of the coaching money in Dublin is going into, and that goes into camogie and ladies football as well. So that's where it is. So he talks about the different codes and the different areas of the GAA that the money goes into in Dublin. Now, he continues to say that more analysis needs to be done. If it was studied, clearly making the insinuation that this hasn't been properly studied at this point. I remember having a meeting, this is the most interesting point for me, I remember having a meeting with GAA officials Seamus Kenny and Shane Flanagan. And Shane Flanagan's comment between the 3 of us was that per head of population, there is actually more coaching money going into Meath than Dublin. That's what he said at that meeting. Now, I don't have the actual figures, so I'm not going to stand over it, but I intend to get someone to just have a look at it and analyse it.
Now, if analysis was done of where the money is going, is not a good look for the president of an organisation. You would think that the president of an organisation would know where the money is going and that he would have done the analysis, or that somebody's job is to do the analysis as opposed to literally hearsay, which he's now putting out but not standing over.
while also criticising people for not doing a proper analysis of it.
I mean, the other thing is that the money in Dublin goes to ladies football and camogie. Are we to understand from that the games promotion officers in Meath and Kildare and Cork and Donegal only take the boys in the schools? Do they only go into boys' schools? If the school is mixed, the girls can't play? I mean, or is it actually just the same everywhere?
Yeah, well, it obviously is. Like, I mean, that's... I just find that quote very unusual. This is an interesting line as well that's been mentioned across the papers in relation to this. Tyrone tried to bring a motion to Congress that asked for a transparent formula for the distribution of monies allocated to each county for games development. The Rules Advisory Committee ruled the motion out of order, but referred the motion to Central Council. Why are Tyrone bringing a motion about a transparent formula for the distribution of monies allocated for each county for games development? Like, if counties are actually feeling that things need to be more transparent, then there's a chance that things need to be more transparent.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Why was it not...
I don't know why it's been ruled out of order.
So, my thing with these things being ruled out of order is that they're never fixed. It's always like, no, we're not touching that. It's not like, oh, that's a good motion, this is the better motion that we'll actually be able to put before Congress.
Like the Donegal motion last year with regards to Croke Park.
Precisely. And then there's, in the Horan stuff today, there's loads of the red herring about, people wanted us to play in Parnell Park. No one wanted the Dubs to play in Parnell Park. They just wanted them not to have 2 games at Croke Park, which was the complete farrago around that whole debate last year, which it feels to me is exactly what's happening around the tiered discussion. So here is the Irish Daily Mirror this morning. No way back, and it's Cluxton pointing. Horan, passes to keepers could be banned soon. So this is next on the hit list for the Rules Committee to look at. They're going to ban back passes to the goalkeeper because it happens occasionally, and I don't know why. What are you going to do? Have the goalkeeper tied, literally on a 10-metre rope tied to his goal so he can't move? Or is it going to be like he's not allowed to pass it back to him in the penalty box? So essentially we're aping soccer here, except in a weird way. But that's fine. We're allowed to take good stuff in soccer when we want to. We just can't admit it. And then when he comes out of that, is he allowed? Is he then suddenly a footballer again? What? So no more Rory Began running up and having the crack? Why are we changing that rule?
Yeah, the thing is, it's not a carbon copy of the soccer rule, because you can pass the ball back to the goalkeeper. He's just not allowed to pick it up. Yeah, the goalkeeper can still be involved in play, but this would completely take the goalkeeper out of play in football.
Is that what? Because I wasn't sure if you could pass it back to him, but he can't handle it.
That would be absurd.
I mean, it would be, but I'm not ruling anything out, Owen.
Well, if you talk about...
It doesn't seem particularly well thought out just yet.
If you talk about the GAA getting a little bit tetchy at the possibility of using terms like Champions League format and all that sort of thing, well, the back pass should be setting alarm bells ringing in Croke Park.
Crystal Palace are never going to sell Zaha to Arsenal, according to John Cross. Murray and Serena is on. It's going to be the most high-profile mixed doubles pairing in a long time, and Larry says he feels no pressure. Do we want to do the Mirror in the English version of the Mirror? Yeah. We're hot. We're hout. See,
so maybe it is Houghton.
I mean, certainly the Mirror twisting the pronunciation of... Because everybody knows Ray Houghton, so that's what they're doing. It's like...
I think we should project our view on the English here for a change.
Heartbreak for Lionesses. I mean, it's such a difficult language to speak, English. I don't know why they don't just say why does it not sound the way it's written? Heartbreak for Lionesses, that was a John Cleese joke, if anybody missed it. For Lionesses, Steph misses vital penalty in USA mock us with tea drinking celebration. I mean, the tea drinking was class. She did it before, though, did she not? Was there not after the 13-0 and the decorum, was there not one of those in the next game where there was a very prim and proper celebration to kind of give out about the fact that she'd been given out to about celebrations? Was there not?
Was there? I missed that.
I thought so, yeah.
Yeah, no, to be fair, I did like the tea drinking celebration. That's what a celebration is supposed to be, you know?
The Star from the UK, here's their one, also revelling in it. Down and Hout. Down and Hot. Doesn't quite work, does it? And then United 70 million move for Harry. It's Harry McGee. Harry Maguire. Harry Maguire is, if this happens, Man City are the most evil geniuses that have ever existed in the history of world football.
Yeah.
They're just sitting there stroking their white cats.
Leicester,
a room full of men in white cats.
Leicester would be evil accomplice as well. I'm trying to think of evil sidekicks here, but nothing is coming to mind at the moment. But they're also trying to say that, this guy should be worth more than Virgil van Dijk. You have to beat the Virgil van Dijk money if you're going to get Harry Maguire, which really is just brass neck of the highest order, and fair play to them. But if this is actually a ploy by Manchester City, which I know is your theory, then it is brilliant. And that is the back page story on the Herald. United told to cough up. Maguire deal on hold as Foxes await further bids. You've got Alex Morgan celebrating there as USA beat England 2-1. And Dublin's Croker Carrot. So it looks like the Dublin Hurlers will be playing potentially their All-Ireland quarter-final with Tip in Croke Park. It's going to be a double-header at headquarters, it seems.
The back page of the Times. End of the world. Houghton misses a penalty as England lose semi-final to US. Cricket final not free to air. The World Cup final will not be available free to air television, even if England are in contention. And Murray to play with Serena there, the stories there. And they've got Phil Neville and Houghton on the front. Phil Neville, did he come out with credit from the whole thing? Are you now a newly minted Phil Neville fan?
Kind of. I definitely think his reputation has been enhanced by all of this, for sure. And given the way he was viewed, and didn't help himself obviously at the very start of his gig, it's been a huge change in terms of how people view Phil Neville. I think it also helps that the views changed of this team, and I presume that people waking up in England this morning have kind of a renewed expectation in this team. In 4 years' time there will be a huge emphasis on the fact that these people are potential world beaters. And to be honest with you, last night is the start of something. This vicious rivalry that is going to exist between England and the United States in football for the next few years. Anytime that these two go toe-to-toe, all the eyes in the world will be on this thing, because that's the sort of thing, as distasteful as I found the mixed zone celebrating afterwards, that shows that there is real needle between these teams.
Yeah, and so it looks like they're going to meet in the Olympics, or certainly they'll be slated to both be in the Olympics with good teams. It's not under 23 in women's football as well, is it? Or is it a full team in the Olympics?
Don't think so, no. I think it's pretty much full team. So, that's another one to keep an eye on, and that is the back page of The Guardian this morning, simply gone with heartbreak. Houghton misses penalty and VAR erases White equaliser as Lionesses again miss out on final.
The Examiner this morning, front page, is a picture of Shane Lowry, flower power, relaxed Lowry, happy to carry home hopes at Lahinch. And then World Cup drama, USA advances, missed penalty costs England, no backdoor, knockout format is perfect for under 20 hurling, says Cork boss Ring. And then fickle Tip fans need to show more faith, is John Fogarty's column today. Kieran Shannon's back page column, which we'll talk to him about, is an electric championship is emerging beyond the pale. So this is the whole point, that outside of the dubs, the football championship has been really good. High scoring matches, Armagh are great, and that's before we even get to some of the good teams who are left to be properly put to the pin in their collar.
The back page of The Sun has a couple of interesting stories. The main one is, where do you think you're going? Irish teen with call to make, because it's Nathan Collins of Stoke City who could be going to Werder Bremen. Keen on signing him. 6'5" defender. Made 3 first-team appearances for Stoke at the end of last season. Been monitored by Manchester United. Also monitored by a couple of teams in Germany, it seems. So that'd be an exotic move, and probably a good move for someone like Nathan Collins at this point. Harry Maguire, meanwhile, has told Leicester City he wants to leave. And an exclusive by Mike McGrath here, saying that Mike Ashley is set for a shock bid to lure Roberto Martinez to Newcastle. So that'll be a lot of fun.
That would be fun, yeah. We'll talk about some of that stuff on Deal or No Deal, including the Werder Bremen story. Just to get into Aidan O'Shea a little bit more, if he's not fit, if there's even any doubts about his fitness, say he takes the field but there's still kind of some residual pain, is the adrenaline enough to get you through that 70 minutes and he'll still be at his normal level, or is that actually it? Because there's any hint of an injury to him, plus the injuries that they're already suffered and suffering.
If he goes down, it's for me, their 3 best midfielders out of the picture in terms of their 3 best footballers in that position in the park. So, quite frankly, I think they are screwed if they lose Aidan O'Shea. This is the thin line that Mayo are walking at the moment, where yesterday I was thinking that Mayo could conceivably make an All-Ireland final again this year. All the games on the path are winnable. But this just kind of blows it completely to pieces for me. He's been the anchor of this team for the last few months, all of 2019, playing his best football, and he has the added importance of the context of the other injuries.
But so, there's obviously some injury there now.
Right.
Even if he plays, is it too much? Does that swing you back? Does that make you suddenly think, can we get an edit to the power rankings before whatever time they're coming up at?
No, because as far as I'm concerned, this is something that they will take a risk on if he is 70% fit. I think you have to, ultimately, as I say, you will risk his presence in the Kerry game the following week if he plays this week, gets further injured, and Mayo end up winning. But the end of that is the key point. If Mayo end up winning, it's still Galway. I still favour Mayo to win at the weekend, but it is still Galway. It's an outstanding team they're coming up against. And really, I don't think they're going to be able to beat them without Aidan O'Shea. So you risk him this weekend if he is anywhere over 60% fit.
Jeepers Keepers is the headline on the back page of the Irish Daily Star. GAA may ban back passes to netminders in massive football shake-up. It would be a huge change. Spurs net Ndombele. So near yet so far. What about the VAR decision?
Correct.
It is, but like, I mean, it was pretty close.
Pretty close. So what?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it was the penalty was pretty close to going the other way. If she'd kicked the ball in the opposite direction, if she'd been 1 foot more onside, she would have been onside. There is no sort of levels of being onside or offside.
Well, there actually are, right? Like, so any part of your body is further than the last defender, you're offside.
Yeah.
Shouldn't that change?
But the way it currently is,
yeah,
she was offside.
So, okay, factually correct, but a little bit pedantic. My point is, shouldn't the rules change? Isn't it a kind of bullshit situation where that goal gets ruled offside when actually they're clearly in line?
So you think it should be kind of like the ball crossing the line, all of the body past all of the furthest defender? Is that what you're sort of suggesting?
Yeah.
Not a bad shout. Not a bad shout.
Like if they can be as specific as the front of her toe, which it was last night, they could be specific to some daylight. A shaft of laser can go between these two players offside. Otherwise, like, what's the point of offside? Is it to stop people from goal hanging, right? So the defender pushes out and you're roughly level with them. And then it's like, I think it would just completely remove the whole ambiguity around it. Because actually, when the goal was scored, I thought, that was close. As opposed to thinking, well, that's exactly what should be happening. You should be able to score those goals and go, yeah, we were level. Because they were level, but a little bit of risk more forward.
So she has a head start. She has a head start in the defender because a little bit of hers more forward. Like, you would take a medal off Usain Bolt if his starting blocks were a couple of inches ahead of his rivals.
She's running straight, and the defender.
But she also has a head start because she is literally closer to the goal than the defender. So, like, I think that's why the rule exists the way it does. I mean, no part of your body can be ahead of the defender because you've got an advantage in terms of getting to the ball first. Like, I see the merit in your arguments. It would favour the attacker and it would make things a bit more of an exciting game. You'd have more goals straight away. And to be honest with you, people would the behaviour would change and people would defend different.
We should do that. United told it's 100 million euros for Harry, so we'll see what happens there.
Back page of the Irish Daily Mail is back pass ban. GAA is eyeing up measure to tackle overly safe play. And World of Pain, penalty miss sends England crashing out a night of more VAR drama. And the Daily Telegraph goes with simply agonising. Missed penalty, goal ruled out by millimetres, and red card end Lioness's World Cup dream. And the back page of the Daily Telegraph is Daniel Schofield writing about NBA's mad £2.3 billion free agency day is the real deal. And to be honest with you, this is better than any sort of transfer deadline day we've ever had in football, talking about the basically $3 billion in contract money exchanging hands on Sunday. Kevin Durant going to the Brooklyn Nets and Kyrie Irving joining him as well, part of the big deals. We'll chat about that in a little while.
Obviously Durant out for the year, so everybody's like, oh, Brooklyn, amazing, you own New York. Kind of. Next year maybe.
Well, they own New York, bought into the fact that the New York Knicks are absolutely chronic.
Because the Knicks were supposed to be getting those two and somebody else.
And Zion Williamson, and then they lost the lottery, which Knicks fans went apeshit about, even though there's nothing they can do.
Was AD going there as well?
There was talk about, but that was all part of the trade with Zion. If they'd got a draft pick of Zion, or even in the top two, where did they come, third or fourth? They would have been able to use that as leverage for Anthony Davis. So Knicks fans, they've got nothing now. They've been left with absolutely nothing. And the Brooklyn Nets are the new sheriff in town.
Yeah, well, they live in New York, so it's not that bad. Or maybe they don't. Maybe they're all like Man United fans living in Essex. Anyway, so apparently Joe Malloy has parred the first. He's playing with Ryan Fox, Grant Fox's son, and Mark O'Shea. And who's telling us this, Tommy? Joe himself is telling us this. Tommy's getting blow-by-blow accounts. I mean, are we going to get news when he has a double bogey and a triple and has to pick up? All right, okay. All right.
What did he say?
I've got John Duggan following him now.
Okay, right.
A lifetime of high-quality journalism reduced to following Joe around the golf course because Tommy asked him to.
Here's an idea for an item. We should get John Duggan to interview golf superstar Joe Malloy and potentially get golf superstar Joe Malloy to give him a tour of Lahinch. The inside the ropes with John Duggan.
All right, here's Enda Smith talking with Maura Trassa in Scottstown, Monaghan yesterday at the launch of the All-Ireland Series. Have a look.
Enda Smith, Roscommon into the Super 8s already. It must be fairly nice to sit back and watch Galway and Mayo have a good old fight this weekend.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice from our point of view to be in the Super 8s already and kind of looking forward to a game in the Hyde as well, the first game at the Hyde. And I suppose Galway and Mayo, I suppose they know each other well at this stage. So yeah, looking forward to sitting back watching that, and it'll be a good game. I said it'll be a cracker actually, and see how it goes.
The actual Connacht final, if you cast your mind to it, I assume it didn't go the way you thought, but at what stage did you guys know that you had the screw turned on Galway and they weren't coming back?
I think the goal was a big turning point. I think we came out to start the second half and we knew we needed the first score because we went 6 points down. Just seemed like a bigger mountain to climb, but we got the first point, settled us down a bit, and then the goal then was probably the catalyst then for us to drive on. It got the whole crowd involved. It got kind of the lads on the field a bit more energised, and I think we were back level within 5 or 6 minutes of the second half, and it didn't feel like that, but when looking back we were, and I think the goal was the main driving force for that.
Obviously now in one sense you don't care, you're in the Super 8s. Connacht final now is a distant memory to you. It's a nice memory but far, far away. Yeah. So you're in the Super 8s, and I know you'll be thinking back to last year. I'm thinking in particular that evening in the Hyde. It was the last interview I did with Kevin McStay actually, the night when the football went awry and all that kind of stuff. A lot has changed in Roscommon in the last year, but I suppose, will you guys still have a little bit of residual worry that you might get a bit of, thoughts and manners in the Super 8s again this year, or what have you learned that won't happen? Yeah, look, it's definitely a massive learning experience for players and management. I know it's a different management, but I think players especially, we reflected back on that and just knew ourselves that we were way off the mark, and like always said this year, if we got back that we'd be better prepared and kind of better set going into them. I suppose like I said, it's a different management team, so they've brought something else to us and they've instilled a bit of confidence and a bit more something else to us as well. So we feel ourselves that we'll be represent ourselves a lot better and hopefully perform and try and make an impact on the Super 8s this year in comparison to last year.
Join Bruce Betting now for a risk-free first bet up to €100. That's right, new Irish accounts can enjoy a risk-free first bet up to €100. So if your first bet loses, we'll refund your stake with a free bet. Now that's giving you more. Bruce Betting, in store, online, and now on your phone. T's and C's apply. Please gamble responsibly. See dunlewy.net.
The Sport Ireland campus Blanchardstown is the home of Irish sport, not just for our athletes but for you in the community. Check out our amazing offers for families with kids camps, sport academies and birthday parties. Or for adults, why not join our gym with a 50-metre pool? Or your club, school, friends can book one of our world-class indoor or outdoor facilities, including our brand new field sport covered pitches. Find out more on nationalsportscampus.ie.
Yeah, you're very welcome back to OTBAM this morning, 8 minutes past 8, wherever you are consuming us this morning. We're glad you're with us. You could be listening to us on OTB Sports Radio, which is now available through TuneIn, which means you can listen to it on your Alexa. Just go, Alexa, turn on OTB Sports Radio on TuneIn, and it works. You can also get us on offtheball.com/radio, or just if you log on to offtheball.com. When we're live, there's a listen and watch button, and both of them will work for you depending on what it is that you want. How do you consume us, Owen? When you're not here, you're gallivanting around Tennessee?
Chromecast.
That's it.
Chromecast is as futuristic and as modern as I'll ever get. I'm a bit of a dinosaur when it comes to technology, but I'm starting to kind of become allured by the sensibilities of Google Home, of the way people can actually do things without using their hands these days.
Yeah.
Turning on and off their lights, turning on their favourite sports radio show without even touching a piece of equipment. It is amazing.
Yeah.
I was just saying there.
You do need Spotify though.
What?
Or a music streaming account. That's when it suddenly becomes worth it. Having somebody eavesdrop on your every conversation.
I don't know what my hands would do without the ability to actually press shuffle on Spotify, to be honest. But I don't know. We'll find something else to do.
OTBAM is brought to you by Avantcard, powered by MasterCard. Let's move on because Kieran Shannon is with us this morning to talk to us about the quality of the football that we've been witnessing so far. Kieran, your piece this morning just reminds everybody that actually the Football Championship has been really good, with the obvious exception of the dinosaur in the room, but that there have been loads of good games, loads of progression made by various teams, and we should be paying attention.
Yeah, I mean, no more than yourselves. I suppose it's, the show there that you have, and myself, I suppose, have been in the drum about what way championship structure should be, but you can sometimes, we've got to move on to what we actually have too, or appreciate what we have, and I think it's been a pleasantly surprising and enjoyable championship if you actually just go through the various provinces. I mean, it's hard to remember a kind of championship that was so satisfying, for the neutral, and between Roscommon winning the championship the way that they did win it, going to both Galway and Mayo, and beating them clean sheets, and great goals in both games, and obviously Conor Cox, etc. And yet you still have, and then yet the best game, all Connacht game, will be not in the Connacht Championship. Next Saturday, as you pointed out, it's 20 years since we've had a do or die Mayo game, and do or die is the term in this sense that it could be the end of the road either for Kevin Walsh has been there 5 years. There's been a lot of incremental progress in that time, bit by bit, but the goal was to get to an All-Ireland final, lose this, and they're not even making the Super 8s, and obviously then with the Mayo team, as much as it's in transition, you'd have to think that it would be the end of the road for a core of 4 or 5 of that team. So that's a massive, that's intriguing. You go to Ulster, it's hard to remember as high scoring an Ulster championship, and as making the point, what has been a strength of Ulster football through the years, and particularly this year, has been the standard of its mid-cut. And you take a team like Armagh, it's been involved in 5 cracking games, and they were just, not too far away from having 9 games this summer if they had one up in Castlebar and one next weekend. So, and then, you go to Munster, and, it was interesting. I don't want to be John Horan bashing all the time, but, he works in shorthand a lot, and, I saw a term he had there today about how Munster's really 2 and 4. That's not the case, there's a case that Clare are every bit as good, if not better, than Cork, and, both Clare and Cork could be in the Super 8s, and both of them put it up to Kerry in their different ways. So as Munster Championship goes, that was pretty decent. And then, then we are left with Leinster, and obviously there is the whole issue of Dublin, but we had cracking hurling championships in the late noughties as well, even prior to Tip coming along in 2009, that were enjoyable. But it turned out, there was one team well ahead of the rest, and yet, Dublin will be tested in likely Omagh if Tyrone come out at the weekend in Game 3, which might mean Dublin have a number 2 seeding going into the semi-finals, and. Who would you pick to come out of the other group? You'll have the winner from Limerick in it. You'll have Donegal in it. You'll have Kerry in it. I mean, the prospect, I don't know what the television channels are going to do between either showing an All-Ireland hurling quarter-final or, Killarney hosting either Galway or Mayo. 2 teams who basically have, prematurely ended Kerry's championships the past 2 years. So they're cracking games to look forward to, and it's easy just sometimes to be cynical or whatever, just to think, Dublin 5-0 formality. There's a lot more going on this summer, and even though the championship could be better, and yourself and Kieran Donaghy, laid out a championship there a few weeks ago that you would love to see in reality. This is pretty good, what we're having, and it's really heating up now.
Yeah, because that was one of the things that struck me when we saw the proposals that were mentioned at the weekend that are going to go to the Special Congress this October. The fact that it doesn't really change anything for the Tier 1 counties. I mean, Donaghy's proposal was kind of this really exciting thing that you'd have big games every single week. And we have had good games this year. Is it too far of a stretch to say that if you didn't have the obvious example of Dublin's dominance, that the current championship structure is actually grand, it's actually fine, it's actually providing us with what we need during the summer?
Yeah, I don't think it is good enough. I mean, you take a county like Fermanagh, whereby they met Donegal in the first round, the Ulster Championship. They actually put it up to Donegal. You can talk about style of play, etc., but they really posed questions and a problem for them. It was 15-9 or 10 in the end, and then they gave Donegal. You could argue they're not necessarily the best team Donegal played in Ulster so far this year, but they gave them probably their toughest game. And then they're playing Monaghan and Clonus the next day, and that's it. Some are gone. 2 games. When you go through the National League, when it's on, like they were 4 for 5 in Division 2, hard-won games both. They came from behind to beat Donegal. The good teams went up there, lost, and so they had a decent year, and yet they had only 2 summer games. So it's not reflective. The new proposals, what I find, we are stuck with a fudge at the moment. John Horan is saying the fixtures group can still review it again. And okay, if he wants the principle of a Tier 2 established, and then it's only for 2020, and then the fixtures review can go about it for 2021. But, whatever is put in as a stopgap tends to be, a medium-term thing at least, and you're stuck with it for a few years. And what you have is next year, let's just stick with Tier 1 for the time being. You'll have 16 teams in it. You'll have, and then you'll have round 1, round 2 qualifiers. So a team could be gone after round 1, the equivalent of a Fermanagh game. And yet he's keeping in place the Super 8s. Why not have 4 groups of 4? If you want it like that, where teams are guaranteed 3 games, you can still reward the provincial winners, where they're the ones with the 2 home games, only 1 away as opposed to 1 away and 2 win. Just even things like that. He's not guaranteeing, which, let's say, the proposal that you and Kieran were proposing on, is a meaningful programme of games for teams during the summer. They'll argue, the clubs, but that's tokenistic. No one's worrying about the club player. He's not worrying about the club player in Dublin, because Dublin, he sees it, are playing until the 1st of September. So, is it okay for, counties like Fermanagh have their county team, and they're supposed to be playing club fixtures in July, but and their county team only getting 1 game a year, guaranteed 1 game outside the provincial championship. So the one thing. So there's all that frustration. I don't think there's been a meaningful debate within the GAA about how best the championship could be laid out. I don't know, or I doubt whether that fixtures review group has that scope when basically they're being imposed. I used the analogy last week in the column of it's a bit like, commissioning the Brennans to review the hotel, and yet Dermot Bannon's, fully at work doing his own thing and saying, right, there's your blank canvas, lads, work around that. It's not a blank canvas. It's an imposition, and it's a missed opportunity, perhaps. And so that is the frustration that, yes, we're getting a decent championship. Obviously, football hasn't been better in terms of, yes, I think, if you want to use it in such terms, we have more, I suppose, expansive, attractive, enterprising, high-scoring football now than we would have had maybe previously. Yeah. Teams are better prepared than ever, more skillful than ever. But the championship could still be more satisfying. And,
I think that's
football year itself more satisfying.
I think that's exactly the point, that the games are potentially great. We have too few of them, and the wrong system to get more games out for all the teams, so that even the worst teams can get games and improve when the weather's good. The whole season is completely backwards. Anyway, we should actually talk about the games, because
we should, because we'll be into it forever. And again, that's why I wrote today for a change to go with what we have. And I didn't see any game live on Saturday evening myself. I was at a family event, but you're following it on Twitter. And then, you're obviously watching the highlights and just, following events from Mullingar and Castlebar and Portlaoise. It was just cracking stuff. It was a throwback to, I remember a great qualifier night in 2009 where, Sligo came within a penalty kick of knocking out Kerry. Donegal knocked out a highly fancied Derry team in overtime. Wicklow beat down. It was back to that. And it reminded you that, the mid-cut is actually probably, whether it's an outlier or not, they're being really competitive this year. And so the appetite this weekend, you have games whereby Like Cork Laois is going to be fascinating. I mean, it's the ultimate defining game in a way for let's say, particularly for Cork. I mean, there's a positive vibe in Cork which we haven't had too often in recent years. You have the promise of it occasionally, and this presents itself. I mean, if Cork win, they're in the Super 8s. Who could possibly take at least one game in the Super 8s? It would bring on that team so much. Lose in Thurles, and we're back to the old narrative of recent years. It's just a massive game and opportunity for both teams, and then obviously, there's the Meath Clare game's intriguing. Tyrone Cavan, unfortunately, just has a sense of deja vu about it. It must be the last team Mickey Graham's men wanted to see come out of the draw. I mean, last year alone they were knocked out by Tyrone in a competitive qualifier, but you just think that's what Tyrone do. They take out teams in the last 12 rounds, particularly aside of the profile of Cavan. And then, obviously we have the big game in Limerick, and as we said with the Super 8s, it's going to be intriguing.
Kieran, on Mayo, we've seen the news this morning that Aidan O'Shea could potentially be out this weekend. They've got a really, really bad run of luck. Notwithstanding that and the idea that perhaps Mayo could go on another incredible run this year, is there anything different that you're noticing from, say, 2 years ago when they were in a similar-ish position where they should have got knocked out a couple of times in the back door, didn't, made an All-Ireland final and should have won it, really? Like, do they still have that? Do they still have that ability to go all the way, really, when it comes to Mayo? Like, these injuries are going to be the big talking point because they could just scupper everything, really, at this point, regardless of that mindset.
Yeah, well, I do think they're deeper though than other years. I mean, they've had. I remember, a pivotal game in the Galway Mayo rivalry was 2013. A year after Mayo were coming off their first All-Ireland final appearance on this run, and they had an injury crisis going into between the end of that league. They got to stayed up and played Dublin in league semi-final, and then there was an injury crisis going into the Galway game in Salt Hill, and they were down 4 or 5 key players, and produced probably their greatest provincial championship performance of the Horan era, Mark 1, and players stepped up in the void. Now you are looking at a position like midfield from where, on paper you were looking at, they had huge resources on paper. Tom Parsons wasn't going to be back this year, but you were looking at Jamie O'Shea. Obviously, Ruan was the find of the spring. Aidan had moved back there and was playing great stuff. Tony Vaughan is a backup there. Dermot O'Connor, likewise. Even Lee could give you minutes there. And now a lot of those options are gone. But I do find that the way that they use the league, that they can be more adaptable. It doesn't have, but Aidan O'Shea would be a massive loss for what he has brought to them, and look, Galway would have their dander up, but he may well play. It's the only thing is with the tick of the games, and this is possibly the disadvantage of them. It will be said afterwards that the Roscommon defeat was a careless and unnecessary one, and they're going through just the sheer run of games that they've had, because you're probably looking at, unless you're involved in the setup, you don't know the diagnosis of Aidan's injury, but you're even looking at the US last night leaving out Megan, because there's a final within 3 or 4 days. Do you leave him off in the hope that then the boys get through it, and that extra 10 days gives them time to recover for game 1 of the Super 8s down in Killarney? These are all the calculations. We're not privy to that. So, of course, you'd want him there if the choice is there. He would be a loss, and it would. I think Galway would take strength from it. But they have their own injury crisis, or in gaps. But as Kevin Walsh said, it's allowed certain guys to get game time during the league, and there's going to be a reaction from them from the Connacht final collapse, you could argue, and. They have been a project of their own over the last few, 4 or 5 years. So it's going to be just It's going to be a massive game. You know, Limerick seems to bring out these epic games. I think we won't have anything like the crowd or the atmosphere of the famous game in 2014, but this is an era-defining game in many ways, or era-ending game in many ways.
How do you feel the two teams actually match up on the basis of what we've seen so far this year?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you know, they did play each other this year, and, you know, like Mayo had a very good spring. Yet if there was two results they would have wanted outside of winning a league final, it would have been either to, you know, maybe break the losing streak they have with both Galway and Dublin. And, you know, there has been if you were to pick a scoreline, like in how Galway are straight up, are geared, you know, to play Mayo, it's 111 or 112 to 12 points. That's the way. But you could see how Mayo were evolving at the end of that league. I remember Horan saying after the game, you know, there was a couple of things we saw. There was one or two goal chances that they had that night that they actually got in the league final. You take Andy Moran was coming out towards the 45. There was a runner behind. They got a goal like that in Tralee. Was it Kevin McLaughlin to Matthew Ruan? They've got a couple of goals like that, and Mayo will need at least a goal to beat Galway for, you know, for what it even represents as much as anything. You know, we've cracked you because Galway have been geared to win by that scoreline. I think Mayo know. It wouldn't surprise me if Mayo got that goal and therefore got the win. But so it could be something like 113-14 Mayo this time. You know, it's I still. Yeah, I don't see it being a 3-goal game, let's say, like last night or last Saturday was in Castlebar. But this is the test of, this will be a massive test of Mayo and particularly, you know, the brains trust that James has, because Galway do pose a question and they weren't able to crack it the last 4 years in league or championship, so it's a massive game.
All right, Kieran, good stuff. Enjoy the weekend. Thanks a million for joining us.
Okay, Joe. So,
Kieran Shannon giving us some thoughts on the imminent Mayo-Galway game. It's the bang of a big game, all right? Already we're talking about it. Already people are excited about it.
Can't not be a big game when it's in Limerick. Just makes everything that bit better. Like, who does that actually favour? The answer is probably it doesn't favour either team that dramatically. It's not.
Do you think they should have tossed a coin?
Potentially. I can see why they didn't. I can see why they wouldn't want that thing to be held up at the end as a reason for why a team may have lost the game. Of course, it's nonsense. That wouldn't be the single reason. Or maybe it wouldn't be that much of a nonsense if Mayo went and to Salthill after James Horan allowed the team to toss a coin and then lost by a point, for example. Maybe that could be the swinging of it. But then, I don't know, maybe Mayo just don't want to play in Castlebar anymore. Maybe the coin toss just really didn't suit them and they want to get on the road, because ultimately they'll have to go on the road again the following week and they'll be down in Munster again. Just
on the point that Kieran was making about your calculations for a game that might happen if you make it there, I think that your calculations have to be, we get into the Super 8s and then we rest Aidan O'Shea for the first game and hope that we can win our second and third games, and that's where we put our resources. This week, get him fit, whatever it takes, get him playing, get into the Super 8s, and then assess how did he come through it. Does he need a rest? If he needs a rest, give him a week off. At that point, you at least you're in the ball game.
Yeah, bring him on against Kerry if that's a contest going down the home stretch. The thing is, like, it's such a tempting thing to just start him against a team like Kerry, given how brilliant he was in the two games in the league.
I know you are making Kerry favourites, or sorry, Mayo favourites if they're through to play Kerry.
If they have Aidan O'Shea.
But notwithstanding that, I think the rest of the country and the bookies are going to end up making Kerry favourites, more than likely.
Slightly.
Yeah, Kerry will be slight favourites for that game. So, like, what other games are Mayo going to be faced with in Super 8s?
Well, they'll beat Meath or Clare and Croke Park.
Exactly.
I think.
Right. So then it comes down to, can you beat Donegal? Right.
Castlebar.
Like, it's definitely worth putting everything into this week to make sure that you're still standing the week after. Because if you are, then anything is possible. And if you're not, you're out.
Yeah.
So I don't know, that would be my not knowing any of the medical situation involved. And obviously they had that statement they issued about the two lads who were injured at the week about their privacy and confidentiality, which is the first time we've seen that coming into GAA, but it's a real, no, we're just going to keep you all guessing. Lee Keegan suddenly starts the weekend. It's like, well, hang on a second. Is that what that meant?
Yeah, maybe. They did go on the record, didn't they, to say it was ankle ligaments for Lee Keegan.
Ankle injury, both of them, but private, confidential. None of your business.
The L word is never a good one when it comes to an injury.
No, it isn't. Okay, it is time for the Power Rankings with Owen Sheehan. Owen Sheehan's Power Rankings. Or the OTBAM Power Rankings? Did we give you the imprimatur of the entire show? How did that happen? I must have missed the meeting.
It's all up to you, really. This is not an ego trip. This is merely an ego trip for everybody in the country.
33-1. Let's go.
So we bring up the first batch of teams. No movement here from 33-1 from New York down to Carlos. We'll skip straight on to number 24, which is Louth. 23 is Leitrim, 22 is Tip, and 21 is Longford. Let's get into some of the teams that were playing at the weekend then. Offaly are a non-mover. They got dumped out of the championship by Lahinch at the weekend. They stay at number 20. Also non-movers at 19 and 18. Derry and Down, respectively.
Offaly were good.
They were?
Yeah. They should have moved up.
Do you think so?
I think they should be above Derry now. I think they should probably be above Down. They lasted a week longer and it's fair enough.
It was definitely a consideration, I'm not going to lie, that Offaly may have been better than those two Ulster teams. I just think that...
Why are they behind Westmeath? What have Westmeath done?
Well, I thought Westmeath were pretty impressive at times during the championship. They put Clare to close to... They ran Clare to a point.
Are Clare better than Lahinch?
And Westmeath were down a few players early, black card, couple of injuries. Are Clare Westmeath better than who?
Are Clare better than Lahinch? That much better than Lahinch?
I'm not sure. We'll get into the Clare Lahinch thing because they're beside each other in our power rankings in a while. But Westmeath are down 1 to 17 after they were knocked out of the championship. Fermanagh are down 2 to 16. So we'll move on to the next page here. So we have Fermanagh there at 16. Clare moved up 1 to 15 after beating Westmeath by a point. So Fermanagh are down 2, Westmeath are down 1, Clare are up, and Lahinch are up. Okay, they're still alive in the championship. They're ahead of Offaly.
There's no consistency there, right? So if Lahinch are above Clare, then Offaly should have got more kudos for running Lahinch close than Westmeath get for running Clare close.
Yeah, you're getting into the basis of one team beats another and that team beats another team, therefore that team is better than the third part of that equation. It's not exactly a reliable source of information. This is based on the performance and based on the idea that if these two teams came up against one another in the morning, who would win? And for me, going back to the other one, Derry or Down for me would beat Offaly if they played in the morning. That's just an opinion. Westmeath and Fermanagh, I do think that Clare have now taken over them, and Lahinch just ahead of Clare in my power rankings. Right. Kildare down 2 to 13 after their results at the weekend against Horan. Of course, it's been a disappointing enough year from a Kildare perspective. A lot of absences in Cian O'Neill's team. Meath are up 1 to 12. This is because of Kildare's reduction and because of their, I don't want to say removal down the power rankings, but they are down to 13. And I put Meath ahead of Kildare. I think if Kildare and Meath played in the morning, while Kildare scored more against Dublin, gauging things against the performance against Dublin may not be a fully accurate thing. So I put Meath up to 12. Cork up 1 as well to 11. They're also leapfrogging Kildare.
Hang on. Cork are in Division 3. Mm-hmm. What division are Meath in?
They've got promoted to Division 1.
Right.
This is based, of course there's a recency bias to this. If there wasn't a recency bias to it and we're basing it as heavily on league form as we were in championship form, then Meath would be ahead of Cork.
Come on, league form is hugely important all the way through.
It's hugely important. It's important.
So then Meath should be ahead of Cork.
It's important, but it's not the only thing.
You said it's hugely important. Meath should be ahead of Cork.
I take back my hugely important.
Okay.
Can I change my words?
Yeah, okay.
It's
Meath
sort of important.
Ahead of Cork.
Why?
Because they've had a better season. They've had 1 defeat.
Bollocks.
They've had a much better season.
I'm sorry, that is nonsense. Look at the performance last Sunday week. How can you say that Meath are a better team than Cork? How can you say that performance against Dublin deserves to put them ahead of Cork and put in that performance against Kerry?
How far behind the Dubs were they at half-time? Was it a 3-point or 4-point game?
Oh, come on.
They had 35 minutes of football. They were as close as anybody's been after 35 minutes in the last 5 seasons.
Well, I'll tell you this. How much were Cork down to Kerry by at one point in the first half? 7 points.
You think Kerry are 2.5 years away from being competitive in All-Ireland?
So
what's your point about Cork running Kerry close?
I said 2.5 years away from winning the All-Ireland. Being competitive in the All-Ireland is a different thing. Would they be competitive against Dublin in a match if it was played tomorrow? Yes, I think so. Am I putting them on the same level? Of course, if Meath put up the same performance as Cork did against Kerry against Dublin, it'd be a hugely impressive result. Yeah, and then we could compare those things.
Than Kerry.
No, that's my point. But then you have these two different heavyweights.
You're overweighting Cork's performance against Kerry.
No, I'm not overweighting the performance. I'm putting up the fact that they scored 3-10 against Kerry. They scored 3-10 against Kerry. How much did Meath score against Dublin?
Kerry's defence is useless. We've been banging on about it for 4 months.
Do you think Meath would score 3-10 against Kerry?
I mean, it depends what kind of game it was, but probably. Park Tolton.
Let's see what happens at the end of the Super 8s if Meath make it that far.
Would they kick 19 points worth of scores against Kerry? Yeah, I think they would.
Right, interesting. Time will tell.
Yes, it will.
I think they would put up 15-16 against Kerry.
And they might run them a bit closer.
And they might run them a bit closer. Of course, I'm basing this on the most recent piece of evidence that we have. And the most recent piece of evidence that we have is that Cork were excellent in the Munster final. Meath were crap in the Leinster final. Can you not get that into your head? That is so simple. This is like, I know you're just picking things up just to wind me up.
I'm not, come on,
and
keep going.
to actually do a disservice to the public surface that is the Power Rankings.
I'm just saying that there's inconsistency here the whole way through. Let's go.
You should be a bit more appreciative of these. Monaghan are in at number 10, a non-mover. I'm keeping them there. I don't care what you say. Armagh, a non-mover at 9, despite getting knocked out by Mayo. I just can't put Meath or Cork ahead of Monaghan or Armagh at this point. However, if Meath or Cork qualify for the Super 8s, I will have a rethink of that. Galway.
if they're officially one of the top 8 teams in the country.
But that's nonsense. Like, officially one of the top 8 teams in the country, just because you're in the Super 8s, it's close. Don't get me wrong, you have to be a top 12 team to make the Super 8s, but just because you're in the Super 8s doesn't make you a top 8 team.
For the next 3 weeks, you're one of the top 8 teams in the country, irrespective almost of what happens. That's how it works. So even if you fluke your way through, the rules, the system that we have decrees that you're one of the top 8 teams.
Okay. Where would you put Armagh, for example? For instance, where would you put Armagh?
Genuinely?
Yeah.
Probably put them about 8.
And are they in the last 12 of the All-Ireland Championship? Answer that question. Are they in the last 12 of the All-Ireland Championship?
No, I think...
No, so therefore they should be outside the top 12. It's a nonsense... This is like the level of nonsense arguments that you're coming up with this morning is actually at a level above anything we've ever seen in this Power Ranking segment. At number 8, we've got Galway, a non-mover. Cavan, a non-mover at number 7. Then we're into Roscommon, down 1. At number 6, through no fault of their own, Kerry are also plummeting down to 5, down 2 places. This is because of the performances of Mayo and Tyrone at the weekend. Granted, this was done before the Aidan O'Shea injury news, and maybe I would have checked that had Aidan O'Shea, say, hobbled off in the middle of the game last week. Mayo, I'm putting them up 2 places to number 4. I think they're the 4th best team in the country. I think they might be back. Tyrone, though, extremely impressive. They lost their way in the Ulster Championship. They found their way again, it seems. It's the beauty of having a load of games. I think Tyrone... I don't want to say they're back.
Tyrone third.
Sorry, Tyrone are up 1. They were 4th, they're up 1. Right. So Kerry have moved down 2 places. Roscommon have moved down a place, and shooting up within to the top 5 are Mayo and Tyrone. Donegal staying at number 2, and Dublin staying at number 1.
Just remind me, did Roscommon play Mayo in this year's championship?
Yes.
Where was that game?
It was in Castlebarger.
And what happened in the game? Because I can't remember.
Really, that's short-term memory loss is a real issue for middle-aged men these days. Roscommon 113, Galway 12 points. The Connacht final before that was Roscommon 212, Mayo 17 points. So that's
a 1-point win for Roscommon.
Yes.
And they're 3 spots behind them on the Power Rankings.
Yes.
On the basis of
I thought league form was hugely important, Ger. Who were the league champions, Ger?
On the basis of Mayo beating Armagh.
Yeah.
Right, in a qualifier.
Yeah.
At home.
Yeah, an excellent Darmati.
That's fine. If you think that makes sense, then that's fine. Mayo, Kerryman says Mayo are back, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, Mayo are back. Like, the thing is, Mayo... I would love for them to be fully fit. I want to see this Mayo team succeed. I would love for Matthew Horan, Diarmuid O'Connor, Lee Keegan and Aidan O'Shea to all be fully fit.
Yeah.
If they were all fully fit, I would actually be laughing at you in advance of the fact that you're actually making that argument that Roscommon are category. Okay, except they're not fit, but like...
Exactly. So
this is based on results.
This is based on results. Roscommon beat Mayo. That was a result. That's an actual result.
Good point. This is based... But also another result that happened this year was Mayo's league performance, proving themselves to be one of the top teams in the country.
Okay.
Like, I think there were a number of factors here. Of course, it's based on results. Roscommon were ahead of Mayo in these power rankings at one point this summer. Let's not forget that. Let's not lose sight of the fact.
You didn't even put them ahead of them after they beat them.
No, I did. Like, Roscommon were last week in 5th spot.
Last week, after they won the Connacht title, you put them.
This time last week, Mayo were 6th, Roscommon were 5th.
Yeah.
Things change. Roscommon have done nothing wrong.
Roscommon beat Mayo and you didn't put them ahead of them.
Roscommon win their first game of the Super 8s in the Hyde and they power back up. I guarantee you that. Except for the fact that Mayo might be back.
Enough disgrace. No, we've brought enough disgrace to the show. Here's Paul McGinley chatting with John Duggan about bringing the Open to Lahinch. We'll get the sports news with Thom Malone after this.
Paul McGinley, the county of Clare, 127 years of Lahinch and a first Irish Open, and it's a beautiful part of the world, so exciting.
Yeah, it is. It is to bring a big major event like this away from the capital cities and down into the sleepy southwest of Ireland and right on the shores of the Atlantic. I think we're set up for a great week. The local community have embraced it brilliantly. There's big crowds forecast and hopefully sellouts at the weekend. And I think a lot of things are in line now to hopefully everybody's going to have a great week.
1991, South of Ireland, Paul McGinley, the champion. What are your memories?
My memories are normally when you get to a final, the kind of guys are tired and the standard drops off a bit. You don't have to play great in the final to win. I was involved in a number of finals, and I remember that one. I played one against Darren up in Port Rush, shot 66 and lost. And then I came down here and I played Philip Johnson. I think I shot 65 and won, and only won one up. He was an Australian player. It was great golf, very high calibre in the final. And it was important for me because that kind of solidified my place in the Walker Cup team that year in 1991, which was played in Portmarnock, and it was also validation in my own mind to have a go at being a professional.
That's Paul McGinley speaking with John Duggan down in Lahinch and having the crack. Obviously, McGinley's loving it, and John is too. We'll get back to him a little bit later on. Thom Malone is here. Tom, how are you?
Hey, Ger. Good.
Good morning to you.
Yeah, good. Yeah, it's let's start with the USA. Well,
where do you stand in the US WNT?
Oh, I think they're brilliant. I think they're absolutely brilliant. I love them. I love the little bit of shade, enough shade about them as well. A little tea drinking celebration.
Shade is good.
Yeah.
I think we can all agree shade is good.
Yeah. No, I'm all in with the USA. They're through to the final of the Women's World Cup. Obviously, first half goals from Christian Press and Alex Morgan last night gave the defending champions a 2-1 win over England in Lyon. Ellen White on target for England, who also had a goal chalked off for offside by VAR. It wouldn't be a World Cup semi-final without some sort of penalty controversy, and Steph Houghton missed a penalty there for Phil Neville's side late on in that game. We also had Millie Bright sent off late on. The England manager says his players could not have done much more.
We said before the game we wanted to leave our hearts and souls on that pitch, and they did. They give everything. We've gone toe-to-toe with the best team in the world. They showed great experience at the end with taking the ball into the corner. I asked them to play football the way that I wanted them to play. So we've come to this tournament, we've done our very best. We've not left anything in that dressing room, and I've told them there should be no tears tonight. We should be proud.
Yeah, Phil Neville there in his little Gareth Southgate waistcoat as well. Yeah, you were saying it over there though. Is it just as Phil Neville, or is he a little bit more partridge than usual? I don't know.
I said that off air. No, I think there is definitely an element, say, before the World Cup, if you saw a quote and it was Phil Neville, you're kind of like, what is he kind of saying here? Do I actually take Phil Neville seriously? I think there was actually a serious question about how seriously was Phil Neville taken. I think after this World Cup, that's changed a little bit, hasn't it?
You were taking him seriously?
A bit more
earlier on,
more seriously.
You were like,
more seriously.
I read this. I read this in anybody else's voice, and I'm like, oh, that's a good point. I read it in Phil Neville's, like, ah.
More, but like that is the Phil Neville. That is the way the stick we used to beat Phil Neville with. The stick I used
effect.
to. Yeah, I think
he's just dressed up as Gareth Southgate, and now he's more serious.
I think it is a bit of a change for him. I still think that there is a bit of way to go, isn't there, in terms of actually fully buying into Phil Neville. That's just me, but we'll see. There's
still an element of just run about a bit about him tactically, isn't there? Kind of like, it
seems that way, but you wonder, is that just a facade that he likes to push? Like, are we not giving him enough credit for perhaps the way he thinks?
It's a very well maintained facade. The US will play either the Netherlands or Sweden in Sunday's final. That second semi-final takes place tonight in Lyon at 8 o'clock. Last night in the early hours of the morning, the Copa America, Leo Messi's drought with Argentina continued. Brazil beat Argentina by 2-0 in the semi-finals of the Copa America last night. Gabriel Jesus and Roberto Firmino with the goals there. Chile face Peru in that tournament tonight. But all the chat after the game on social media, unbelievably, was about Messi. A lot of people calling it Brazil versus Messi show. Obviously, I didn't actually see the whole game live because it's on the dead of night. But if you did watch back the highlights, he did appear to dominate, and there was quite a lot of, Messi's through on goal, and then the rest of the Argentina squad kind of sitting around and not really helping him out much. And then there's a couple of missed opportunities as well. So the 32-year-old obviously has struggled to pick up silverware. That was quite well documented. But then Miguel Delaney started a thread on Twitter. It's quite interesting, looking at the different caps totals at tournaments, starting pre-Messi and finishing with this. And you can see some of the graphics up on screen at the moment. But if you look at that's the One from
2002.
2002 World Cup, yeah.
Marcelo Bielsa.
Yeah, and also look, defender number 4, Mauricio Pochettino. Only 6 players on that had fewer than 20 caps or fewer.
Yeah.
From that 2002 World Cup pre-Messi, and then you head to this Copa America squad, and there's only 6 players with 20 caps or more. So it's kind of a difference. Maybe you go with the
Messi 130 caps. Jesus.
Yeah. And Dybala also only has 20
and that's
as well.
including
And you look
his 18 months retirement, isn't it?
Yeah, and then you look at the difference in the quality
team is
of the teams
Batistuta, Claudio Lopez, Messi, Aymar, Varane, Almeida, Samuel Ayala, Zanetti.
So that was Messi, I think, his first outing with Argentina, and like the quality of players surrounded by.
A bunch of players I don't actually
compared
know.
to, obviously you got the likes of Aguero in there. Dybala still doesn't get picked. You got Otamendi, and like I said, the rest of them literally only have handfuls of caps. So I suppose the Messi versus Brazil narrative does carry a little bit of weight.
He's had no help.
Very little. And even from, the likes of, Aguero missed a clear opportunity as well last night. Higuain has been absolutely lampooned in the past for them as well. So, maybe it's not all Leo Messi's fault, but he could do a dig out every now and again, I think.
This is true.
Also, Ireland beat Brazil last night as well. Yep, it's an absolute cracker of a goal as well. It's from the Napoli 2019 Summer University Games, the World Under-19s girls. Ireland beat Brazil by 1-0. Check this out for a goal as well from Lauren Kelly. Scored this absolute belter. She's a Maynooth student. Picks the ball. It's just intercepted here. Picks it up. Great commentary on this, by the way.
Nutmeg.
Oh, absolute cracker. So Ireland beat Brazil by 2-1 in Napoli in the 2019 Summer University Games. Like I say, Ireland beat Brazil. We'll stick with the headline.
Oh yeah, no, most of our good young players end up on scholarships, don't they?
Yeah.
Isn't that the...
Yeah.
So, a lot of our good young players end up on scholarships.
Obviously university football system in America is far superior to anything we have on offer. Also as well, of course, the ban on back passes could be brought into Gaelic football later this year. GAA President John Horan has revealed the rule change is set to be on the agenda at Special Congress in October, although you covered it earlier. How workable it is remains to be seen. Cork, meanwhile, have made 2 changes from the Munster football final defeat to Kerry last month for this Saturday's All-Ireland Round 4 qualifier against Laois, with Thomas Clancy and Kevin O'Driscoll coming into the starting 15. Last night in the Under-20s Championship in the Munster and Leinster, in Munster, Limerick edged past Tipperary by 113 to 112, while Waterford got the better of Clare in a scoreline of 110 to 19. And in Leinster in the Under-20 football championship, Dublin absolutely trashed Longford. They're 421 to 7 points. Meath got the better of Offaly 112 to 12 points. Wexford beat Louth 310 to 16 points, and Laois advanced to the semi-finals with a 220 to 20 points win over Wexford. That went to extra time, and the semi-finals in those tournaments scheduled for the weekend of the 27th and 28th of this month. At Wimbledon this afternoon, Novak Djokovic is the star name. The defending champion takes on world number 111 Denis Kudla, and after her first round defeat of, was it an upset, 39-year-old Venus Williams, the 15-year-old Corey Goff?
I mean, it was. Just because John Duggan says it wasn't, it totally was. It's like 15-year-old beats legend of the game on centre court, or court number 1. Yes, it is.
Anyway, she is up against Magdalena Rybarikova, while Serena Williams, Roger Federer and Rafael Nadal all progress to round 2 today. And it's been confirmed that Andy Murray will partner with Serena Williams in the mixed doubles. Murray's only competing in the doubles as he continues to recover from hip surgery. We got a copy sent in from they're the wires, and it's Sir Andy Murray he's referred to, but so anyway, Williams says she has plenty of respect for Sir Andy Murray.
To do what he's done in an era where there's so many other great male tennis players and so much competition, and to rise above it, not many people have done it, and he's actually one of the few. So there's so many things to be admired.
And just one bit of transfer news to finish up. Leicester have agreed a £30 million fee with Newcastle for striker Ayoze Perez. The 25-year-old scored 12 goals in the Premier League last season. And today, 8-race card from Bellewstown as the first of their 4-day July festival gets underway.
With a bit of good weather as well, so we're heading out to Bellewstown.
Go to the hill.
Thanks, Tom. Right. Owen's not going to be in with us tomorrow because he's swanning around at one of the best roadshows and one of the best events we've had in a long time. It's coming up tomorrow. It's the 4th of July. It's in partnership with Free Now, and it's in the Alex Hotel. We've got a couple of tickets left for this if you want to go along. Guests on the night include Irish legend Paul McGrath, former Irish international Jamie Heaslip, performance coach for the Dublin Hurlers Cleena O'Connor, and the former world champion boxer Andy Lee. It is an exclusive off-air event, so the only way you can see it is by being there. Tickets are free, but you've got to register and show proof on the day, either by printing tickets or having them downloaded on your smartphone. You can check out offtheball.com/events to get your ticket for the event with Free Now Business, getting your business where it needs to be. Now let's go back to the World Cup and America 2-1 victors over England last night. Ruth Fahy joins us to give us her analysis of the game. Ruth, good morning to you. How you doing?
Good morning, guys. How are you doing? Did you get to see the game last night?
Yeah, totally. I was pretty engrossed by it. We were chatting yesterday about who we were going to be up for. I was on Team USA all the way. Owen, I don't know what happened to him. He forgot the 800 years and was cheering for the Lionesses. So, who are you up for?
Yeah, I was a bit on Owen's side and I kind of forgot that last 800 years or so because I don't know. I thought USA were going to do it, but I really wanted England to do it, and mostly because the fact that there's a lot of our Irish girls actually play kind of on a daily basis with some of the English girls, and I just thought the idea that they could, play and train with them at club level, and they can go on to that level to win the World Cup, was a nice kind of reflection, I suppose, for Irish football more than anything. So it wasn't, the 800 years obviously was a big factor, but I was keeping that in mind too.
How would we have done at this World Cup? Watching the style and the quality of football that we saw last night, how far away are we from that standard at the minute, Ruth?
How far are Ireland doing?
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting question, because that was very much in my mind, especially as I watched the group stages. And when you're watching, I suppose, England, USA, the Dutch, Norway, we've seen they're a step ahead in terms of quality. But watching the likes of Italy, the likes of Spain, and these are teams that Ireland would have played recently and probably lost marginally. By, I think it was scored like 2-1, 1-0. You're kind of looking at those games and you're thinking, yeah, the gap isn't too big there. And the fact that, Italy went on and got to the quarterfinals, Spain obviously put it up to USA in the last 16 as well. It's very difficult to know until you're there. I suppose it's so difficult to know. But the gap with that lower tier is not that big. But yeah, the likes of USA and England last night, obviously there's a good bit of distance away till we can see Ireland in that kind of scene. But again, it's not unfathomable now at this stage.
Because obviously the Euros are in England next time. It's a big opportunity for most of our team who are playing in England to have playing grounds they're familiar with, and for a big Irish crowd to show up and support the team, which means the next 18 months of qualifying is unbelievably important.
Exactly. Like, it's all kind of coming to this point, isn't it, really? And as you say, the fact that the Euros, which is probably something Colin Bell, I know, and I'm sure we'll talk about him too, I know he would have targeted this coming campaign as D1. Obviously, we'll say Ireland ran Norway and Ireland close. They didn't really, in the end, the campaign kind of got away from Ireland in the end for the World Cup. But the Euros is a different story. I think it's a lot, honestly, genuinely so realistic. I think not to get to the next Euros will probably be seen as quite a failure from our side, just considering everything that's happened in Irish women's football, in the last 2 years, going back to 2017 and that protest and the strike and all the stories that came out. A lot has improved, a lot has changed. I think the World Cup campaign came too close to that, but I think the Euros certainly didn't. And obviously we have an interesting couple of weeks ahead. I think that the Ireland senior manager job is going to be advertised externally as well. So, who knows what kind of candidates are going to apply for that. Hopefully the calibre is really high. I'd love to see it go to somebody obviously outside the general norm. But we have this really interesting scenario where it's kind of like the Irish men's job. We have this campaign and this major tournament looming that we really, we have to qualify for. But at the same time, you really want someone to come in who's Irish and who's going to look at the Women's National League and try and look at that long term and make it better, because that's what needs to be done, and that's probably where Colin Bell would have fallen a bit short. Yeah, because it was interesting. Colin Bell, the announcement came, there was a little bit of talk about it. Generally, it was like, oh, he did an okay job. But then talking to Anya O'Gorman yesterday, she was like, he did an all right job. It wasn't amazing. It wasn't. Yeah. We didn't qualify. He didn't do any better than any of the previous managers, which is, it's interesting to hear that, and we kind of need to start hearing that level of what's actually happening in Irish women's football coming out, where people are saying, hang on a second, what is our expectation here and what are our standards? You're saying we have to qualify and that's what we should be expecting.
with all of the good teams that we've had over the last half decade at underage level, they're all coming to senior level at this point. So it's right that we should be expecting our teams to qualify, and it's right when our players are playing with the majority of those English players that they see themselves as equal to those guys.
Yeah, absolutely. I hit the nail on the head there, and you're right. I'm glad you cited Onia's interview, because I thought that was brilliant. I thought it was really important that she came out and said those kind of things. You know, she's the best type of person to give a view on Colin Bell to the players that have played under him. When I heard the news that he was leaving, I was like, initially, I was just hit, because I had spoken to Colin a couple of weeks back. I'd gone to a Bundesliga game to watch a friend of mine play for Duisburg. I met him there. He was there watching, which again is another great reflection upon him. He would have gone to all the games. He did bring things forward. He did things that previous managers wouldn't have done, things that previous managers should have done. That was the norm to him. But I met him there, and he was just so excited, just so looking forward to next campaign, but just so certain as well that this was the time. And I've spoken to him before about the campaigns, but he was really, really sure that this was it, and he was kind of instilling that confidence in me as well. And then when the news came, it came out completely out of nowhere. What had happened was, I'd heard things before where he'd had offers and turned them down because he was so committed to the campaign. So I think I was a bit naive in my initial reaction. I just thought, no, there must be something wrong here. But, as things transpired, and obviously the FAI released their statement, it just appears as if he had a decent offer and he couldn't turn it down. He was trying to negotiate a way, in fairness to him, that he could stay and still keep a role, but he just couldn't turn this offer down. And that's disappointing for me, because I want someone in there completely committed to the cause, and that's because I'm emotionally invested in this team. It's totally different from that sense. But as you say, like Anya said, she cited that the results were okay. They were okay. When we think back about Colin Bell's tenure, we'll think immediately to that 0-0 draw with the Netherlands, where he pulled off something, I suppose, that a manager hadn't done before, and that's what stood out for it. But then, as that campaign went on, I think he kind of hit gold when he brought Tyler Tolan through out of the youngest player at 16, and then he tried, I suppose, to replicate that again and again, and it kind of didn't go right for him at certain stages. He brought a lot of young players into the squad. I know he had players training here, 15 years old. I know that didn't sit well with all of the players. It works for some young players. Some are ready, some aren't. I know you can, blood players with experience, but he was kind of doing that probably a little bit too much. And again, losing the likes of Anya, I think losing the likes of Kieran Duggan, for me, that was absolutely crucial, because Kieran Duggan's so key in that squad, and she has years to give, and there are other players there too. So yeah, it's good to hear those kind of things coming in. I suppose that lessens the pain of the fact that we've lost, someone really instrumental. You can't take that away from him at this really crucial point going forward. And like I say, it's going to be, I can't wait to see who's going to come in.
Yeah, so just on that,
I'm really excited about it, yeah.
On that route, does it need to be somebody who is completely au fait with the current playing setup, or could it be somebody in the mould of what England have done, like Phil Neville, who obviously has their coaching badges, but, so like in the Ireland coaching field at the minute, somebody like Brian Kerr, for example, would that be something that women's football in Ireland would welcome?
Yes, 100%. I think the whole community of women's football is really open to something like that. Someone put forward the name of Roy Keane. I just that would be the dream. I don't think Roy would be too tempted, to be fair to him, but like something along those lines instead, Brian Kerr, like what Neville did over in England. I think it'd be great to have someone Irish come in. I'm not sure how the FAI will feel about that. But, and again, and for me, it doesn't have to be someone with big tournament experience. Yes, the next campaign is so crucial. But for me, I'm coming from, that Irish football overlooking kind of view. And I want someone to come in and really, really focus on our National League, because it's falling apart. And, everybody knows that. I prefer not to, just react really quickly, bring someone in. I prefer them to come in, take their time, and look ahead to the next 5 years, 10 years, if that's possible. I know that's not always possible when you're recruiting a manager with a big campaign looming.
Like someone like Roy Keane, as you mentioned there, would be perfect given the on a purely philosophical level. I mean, what Ger was talking about earlier on, the expectation. Like Roy Keane goes in there and he's like, we expect to qualify for things, we expect to win. Anything other than the very best out of this team just simply is not good enough, and that's the expectation that he would bring, and that's the sort of expectation, as you've already mentioned, that is required.
Yeah, the Roy Keane thing makes me laugh. I met Roy about 2 years ago. I think I got slightly starstruck and I kind of panicked and said, "What do you think of women's football?" He kind of just looked at me and I said, "Oh, what do you think?" And he kind of referred back to a game he'd seen, and he went to watch the Irish women's team 2 years previously. He said, "Oh yeah, wasn't bad. And then he stopped and he laughed and said, "Look, I've got, is it 3 or 4 daughters he has? I can't even remember." He said, I can't even comment on this. He's like, it's great. But in terms of knowledge, I don't think, no, I'm not sure if Roy Keane is going to come in and lift Irish women's football. But someone like that, yes, as you say, to have the expectation of winning. But see, that's what Colin Bell has. He had such a high level of professionalism, probably that the previous regime didn't have. He changed a lot of things. A lot of habits were different. He was very strict. I know that. I think it was difficult for some of the girls to move over into that kind of regime. But that's what he did. And I think that's really, really important to bring in that expectation. But they have that now. You know, that's the legacy that Colin Bell has left as well. He made them want to win, believe in themselves, and that's no one's going to come in and go backwards, I assume. You know, kind of way. So
no, exactly.
Again, I just don't know.
Exactly, and look, it just feels like there's a moment in time here where there is an FAI administration who are looking for an opportunity to point to some good stuff that's coming down the tracks, and it's clear that an investment in women's football is the right thing to do for all sorts of reasons, not just commercial reasons, not just because it's actually what they're supposed to be doing, but also because there's a public groundswell of support. People are watching these games in a way that we haven't really seen before. Like, the World Cup was on last night, everybody's watching it like a World Cup game. It's not that it's a Women's World Cup game, it's a World Cup game. And so if you were in the FAI at the minute and you were looking for something to hang your hat on, a good quality, high profile appointment for the vacant position, backed up with a plan to help the Women's National League, like, it's a fairly straightforward win for everybody.
Yeah, exactly. It's completely straightforward. This is the perfect time, as you say, and while it's so crushing for Colin to leave, just because he has that momentum, he's put in all the groundwork, and I think everything he had been building towards in the previous couple of years was looking at this campaign, and that's why it's really tough. But this is huge, as you say. Every single person, like everybody I know, the amount of texts I was getting last night about the USA English game, I'm talking from friends who have not even no interest in football, but no interest in sport, because that's what a World Cup does. It gets you to the screen and gets you to watch it. Everybody is watching, and I'm trying to just, to be fair, there are a couple of names out there as well, and names that I would certainly not disagree with. We have the likes of Aidan O'Shea, that name's been thrown up, and I love that because she knows the game in Ireland so well. Other people will say she doesn't have, that international experience. That doesn't matter. She's a hugely highly qualified coach. She knows all the girls inside out. She knows the landscape of women's football, and she knows the trials and tribulations that it's been through as well. And she's someone that can go in and fix that because she has that experience. On the same tune, to bring in someone, completely externally from abroad to come in, looking at this campaign in particular and bringing that sort of international experience, that wouldn't be a bad thing either. But I think at this time, you have to look beyond. For me, altering the landscape of women's football in Ireland is more important than, a shotgun approach as well. But I think if they can strike the balance there, they'll be striking gold.
Ruth, great stuff. Thanks a million for joining us this morning.
Thanks, guys. Enjoy the game tonight and chat to you soon.
It's Ruth Fahy there giving us some thoughts on what's going on generally. We obviously talked about the game a little bit earlier on if you missed that.
It's interesting that she says that. I mean, that's a very sort of thing that seems to be the hallmark of this United States team, the expectation that they have. Like, the arrogance and the sort of brash nature of them is one part of it, but the other part of it is we are the best in the world, and we are going to win this World Cup, and we are going to
and that goes
crush you.
Tradition and investment that Title IX invested equal amount of money in women's sport as men's sport, and soccer was the primary benefit of that at university level. 30-40 years of players and coaching coming through, so there's a backbone there. Anyway, let's move on. Going back to the golf, here's Shane Lowry speaking with John Duggan ahead of the weekend's Irish Open about his run into the tournament and the impact that Rory McIlroy has had on the event.
Where the Irish Open fits in the schedule, I don't play in the Scottish Open, so it's nice to be here this week playing, and then I'll play some links golf my week off next week as well. So it is a nice little run into the Open. I'm not sure it's ideal for me, but it's something that obviously because of the Irish Open I'm here, and I really want to be here, and I wouldn't miss it for the world. So like I said, I'm not sure it's ideal the schedule, in the calendar for me, but it is what it is. I'd ideally like to be playing next week, but I'm not going to play 3 weeks of links golf in a row, and I'm always going to play the Irish Open. So
you can understand Rory's position possibly then, and he doesn't know the tournament anything really.
No, absolutely not. I've just said that in another interview. I said what Dubai duty free and Rory McIlroy have done for this tournament the last few years is incredible. The fact that we're down here in Lahinch this week playing for so much money in such a great event, is just we owe a lot to them. So I can see where he's coming from.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's all fair enough. John Duggan is with us. He's in Lahinch. He's been studying the form guide. John, did you change your mind at all when you get down there and see what the conditions are like? You've walked the grass, you've seen the greens, you're actually out there, you think, hang on a second now, I need to revisit my calculations. Or are you strict? Form's all that matters.
I'm strict because I would have checked the weather, Ger and Owen, a few days ago, and I knew it was just going to be benign. So I am interested in what Larry said to me yesterday, and he said that it's not just going to be a 20 under par tournament. He thinks there's some tricky holes out there. Like Paul McGinley has short, like the course is only just over 7,000 yards, 7,036 yards. So it is a shorter course than a lot of some of the other courses. But Paul McGinley has, got the greens cut well. It's going to be firm and fast. I always remember, even as a young lad growing up, Lahinch, when I heard the word Lahinch, because my dad was from Clare, you always think, Lahinch is brutal. It's brutally tough, very difficult course. So I'd expect maybe a total of maybe between 10 and 15 under par to win it. But have I changed my mind? No, I haven't changed my mind. I'm reading as much as I can, but I'm pretty, I haven't changed my mind.
Jon Rahm is the favourite, is that right?
Yeah, 8-1.
Bit short.
Understandable. Bit short for 156 runner field. If his head is in Portrush, where it should be, with no disrespect to the Irish Open, which he's won already when he took apart Port Stewart, I think that, look, he's come back from the States. He was really impressive at Pebble Beach, especially in the weekend. He nearly won in Valderrama last week. He's a form horse. He's my barroom brawler friend. I always want Jon Rahm in my barroom brawls. But do I want him on my betting slip this week? No, I don't. Not at 8-1.
When you say that his mind might be in Portrush, is Jon Rahm the sort of player who plays a lot better when he's not putting that sort of pressure on himself, when he sort of can go out and play his own game and be free and not actually have the weight of huge amounts of pressure on his shoulders?
Well, Jon Rahm, to me, on the golf course, is quite an angry guy. And actually, he feeds off his anger. He feeds off that rage sometimes when things aren't going his way, and he channels that in a positive way. Now, he's tempered that a bit. I think he needed to. So Jon Rahm being relaxed might actually not be the best thing. I think he does need to be fired up, and we saw that at the Ryder Cup when he beat Woods. He held the winning putt against Woods, wasn't it, in France? So no, Jon Rahm is he is going places. Whether he'll take this course apart, I don't think so. But at 8-1, if you 20-1, I'd be interested, but not at 8-1.
Yeah, too short. A lot of Larry's very short as well. Is that just because a lot of Irish people were backing him when the Irish Open rolls around? He's 16-1 to win. Possibly. He's come up 40 places in the rankings. He was 75th at the end of last year. He's 35th now. He's playing extremely well. I asked him yesterday again, what about slow start, Shane? He made a slow start at Pebble Beach. He made a slow start at Bethpage. He finished the weekend really well. He was really, really happy with his game. He's really happy with his game, Shane Lowry, at the moment. So on a form basis, yes, but he should be 25-1. He shouldn't be 16-1. I do think there is sometimes the rose-tinted glasses of I'm sure there were people back in England, ladies, last night in the World Cup match, just in England because of patriotism. Yeah. And I think you were going to find a bit of that with Shane Lowry. Yeah, I mean, it's the same, I think, with GMAC, who's 28-1. GMAC was 100 at Pebble Beach, and I was happy to have a nibble at that, and it wasn't the worst bet I've ever made because he finished 10th, and top 8 places were getting paid. But anyway, not that I'm counting, my €2 each way. You're still bitter, Ger. You're still bitter about it. My €2 each way didn't pay off. I think he's too short at 28-1. So what do you like here? I've gone for 4, right. Here's a question for you guys. Do you think I bet on every single tip I give on off the ball? Yes. You better, or else, you're not putting your money where your mouth is. I don't know. What do you think, Ger? I don't know. What do you think, Ger? I'd say no. Not everyone. Well, I don't bet at Cheltenham for reasons that I can't get distracted with punting at Cheltenham. And, because I'm working my brains out, and we all should be working our brains out if we're privileged enough to be in this position to work in sport, right? But I actually am going to put money down on Louis Westhuizen this week. Right. Louis Westhuizen is the class act
nobody has talked about. I'm the first person in Ireland to talk about Louis Westhuizen this week at the Irish Open. 18-1. The odds I'm selecting through Odds Checker are a fifth of the odds, the first 8 places. Louis Westhuizen has won. They call him Lahinch, the St Andrews of Ireland. He's won at St Andrews. He won the Open there. He's been second in all 4 majors. He knows how to play links golf. He was in the top 10 at Pebble Beach linksy kind of course. He's got a pure perfect swing. He won the Irish Amateur Stroke Play Championship at Royal Dublin as a 19-year-old back in 2002. So he likes the country. And I think Louis Westhuizen at 18-1 is a very solid each-way bet as a class act in a field that maybe doesn't have that many class acts this week. So like he's a bet. I'm going to be putting money. I'm going to find the Lahinch Paddy Power and I'm going to put money on Louis Westhuizen.
Okay. Who else?
The others.
Yeah.
The other 3. So my virtual insanity, we're putting €50 in this tournament. Virtually €10 each way, Louis Westhuizen. The other 3, Danny Willett is back in form. Now, we all know what happened to Danny Willett. Won the Masters unexpectedly because Jordan Spieth collapsed. But he still won it. He played really well in the European Tour the season before. Then we had this issue with his brother in the Ryder Cup and all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Danny, I don't know whether he's affected by that, but he kind of went off the boil a bit. He's back on the boil. So I'm looking at Danny Willett's stats here. US Open 12th, Canadian 8th, Memorial 27th, 6th in Ballyliffin last year, 4 top 10s in the Irish Open. Maybe he's jet lagged, but Danny Willett at 28-1 to me is a very solid proposition for a good iron player around the hinge. 5 each way, Danny Willett, 28-1. And 2 others, my Twitter friend, although he doesn't know me on Twitter, nor does he follow me, Eddie Pepperell. I love his tweets. Eddie Pepperell is 40-1. The only worry I have about Eddie is had a back problem. He hasn't played in a while. He might be a bit rusty, but he says, he was telling the Oxford Mayo, which I was reading this morning, amidst all my other tasks, that he's feeling that he's not nervous. He's happy with his game. Might be a bit of rust. So that's the kind of like the caveat with Eddie Pepperell. But a great links player. Second at Hillside, tied for second at Royal County Down Irish Open, and he's 40-1 for 5 each way. And finally, a guy who won the Scottish Amateur at Muirfield. Once again, second to Hillside, Tommy Fleetwood's tournament earlier this year on a links course, was also second in Denmark. 2 second-place finishes on his first real season on the European Tour. Robert McKenzie from Scotland is 70-1, 70-1 for 5 each way. Robert McKenzie, Eddie Pepperell, Danny Willett. But Louis Westhuizen, I will even go down and put money, my own hard-earned money, which I'm sometimes reluctant to part with, on Louis Westhuizen this week. But I would agree with you, Ger. You want to be shopping around for value. Mikko Ilonen, Patrick Sholand, nothing against them, but they're past winners of the Irish Open.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can get unheralded names. There's a lot of players between the 100 and 200-1 mark. You could have it just because they're playing well. And once again, other players might have their heads in Portrush.
I think when Paul Casey won, he started the week at 50s or 66-1, and was close enough to the lead after the first round and was still available at 33. Now his form had been terrible for 18 months before that, and obviously he just, that winning at Carton House was kind of the spark for him to come back into it. Paul Dunn 55, Pork Harrington 80-1, Seamus Power 80-1. If you're looking for a patriotic bet, I think there's a bit of value in the 3 of those lads.
I don't do patriotism with betting. If I'm going to have a patriotic bet, it actually would be Lowry, but no. But it's all about sometimes research and trying to dig deep. And Steve Palmer is the greatest golf tipster of all time. He's an amazing tipster in the Racing Post, and he does this great research. And he's picked a guy called Paul Waring, who's got form like a Lahinch as an amateur, has played well on links courses, and he's tipped him at about 125-1. I'm not tipping him; it's his tip. But I'm just saying that if you dig a bit deep, if you dig deep and see who's playing well on the European Tour, Alvaro Pirot has been third and second the last 2 events on the European Tour. He's about 80-1. He's my idea of a value bet at those prices, but you can't tip everybody. But I do think sometimes you can get players coming out of the blue at 150, 200-1. Padraig has been way out of form. Seamus Power's come back from the States where he's not been playing that well. There's 13 Irish lads, I think, in the field, but it's hard to say. I can't really see a John O'Leary or a Padraig Harrington from 2007 coming and winning this. I can't see an Irish winner this week unless you chain. So my tips, I'm going to put these up on offtheball.com for folks who are just not picking them up exactly right now. And I'll kind of explain the rationale behind them as well. All
right, good stuff. John, enjoy the rest of the morning. And did you follow Joe around for a couple of holes? Did you see how he was getting on?
No, I've been stuck in the booth here doing a few other things for radio and that. But it's beautiful out there. It's calm. I'm sure Joe is the calmest person anyway. So I'm sure he's not losing the head on the golf course. But look, it's great. Like, you got so many great names here: Niall Horan, AP McCoy, Ruby Walsh, Keith Duffy, like Paul O'Connell, Keith Woods, Joe Malloy, Dermot Whelan. A lot of good people at the pro-am here this morning. And as I was saying earlier on, like, the town is buzzing. It's brilliant weather. It's a great, like, I was coming down. I'm on the top of a hill at the moment. I'm coming down every morning, and I'm just looking. I can almost see the cliffs of Moher from here. So,
nice.
Look, it is a nice place to be.
Great stuff, John. Thanks for that.
All right, guys.
We'll talk to you real soon. And as John said, you can get his stuff on offtheball.com. 14 minutes past 9 this morning. You're watching us here on OTBAM, or you're listening to us. It's the Sports Breakfast Show from Off the Ball. It's Deal or No Deal next on OTBAM. We're back after this.
The Sport Ireland campus Blanchardstown is the home of Irish sport, not just for our athletes but for you in the community. Check out our amazing offers for families with kids camps, sport academies and birthday parties. Or for adults, why not join our gym with a 50-metre pool? Or your club, school, friends can book one of our world-class indoor or outdoor facilities, including our brand new field sport covered pitches. Find out more on nationalsportscampus.ie.
I hear you some wiring needs a fixing, ma'am. The name's Buzz, on account of my work.
No chance.
Not all cowboys ride horses. All safe electric registered electrical contractors must give you a certificate of completion that shows their work meets approved standards. Find one nearby on safeelectric.ie.
But anyway, I did the gig then. I went up on stage and done the gig. And the commissioner had like blown me up big time anyway, and he was like, and he told Jack Nicklaus, he said, Jack, you've got to come to the front and listen to this guy. So Jack is standing there, the commissioner's here asking me the questions. So I start off, the first 4 impressions, everyone in the room is laughing, but I kind of feel like Jack is like just kind of watching it, you know. He's like, you know, I don't even know if he was even, whatever, like he was smiling, but he wasn't laughing. And I had no intention of like sneering Jack at all, because I was too afraid to, like, because he's like God. So then after about 4 impressions, I was doing Bubba, and I'm crying. I'm like, oh man, you know, and I'm doing this, and then I look, I was like, is that Jack Nicklaus, man? And I'm like, man, Jack's the greatest golfer of all time. And everyone kind of clapped. And I was like, you don't believe me? Just go ask him. He'll tell you himself. And literally the whole room went, and it only lasted about 2 seconds, but my whole career flashed before my eyes. And I was like, oh my God. And then he laughed. The whole room laughed, and then it was just, the gig went brilliantly, whatever. So after the gig then, I was chatting to him for a couple of minutes.
What's he like?
So, just a class act, like really is a class act. So I told him, I said, you've caused so many rows in my house. I said, because me and my brothers grew up like Tiger fans. So Tiger's the greatest player that ever played the game. We didn't even know anything when we were younger about Jack. Yeah. And my dad would come in and go, Jack Nicklaus is the best of all time. And there'd be serious rows in my house. As in, like, we'd be just going at each other, and we'd be fighting with my dad, saying Tiger's the best and this, that, and the other. So I was telling Jack this, and I was like, my dad is like your biggest fan. And he was like, whatever. So we're chatting away anyway. A couple of days later, I'm back in New York, and I get this email from Jack's manager, and it's like, what's your address? So I give him the address or whatever. And I was like, they must be sending me something. So he sends me a picture of me, Jack, and Barbara. And my dad's name is Thom, and in it, dear Thom, thanks for all your support, Jack Nicklaus. And I was like,
amazing.
Yeah, it turns out Jack Nicklaus is a good guy, but Conor Moore, also a great guy. That whole podcast is available to download on Golf Weekly. That was a great show. Played golf with Conor, and he's going to be on the shot clock with Kieran Donaghy tomorrow. They were playing against each other yesterday, and I mean, no, in fairness, he'd been out the night before, so he wasn't playing very well. I was like, Donaghy's a good golfer, like a proper, serious golfer. So I was telling you yesterday, Donaghy's going to win that. Like, he's going to crush him, because the competitive instinct is strong in Kieran Donaghy. We know this. Apparently not that strong. Conor had him done by the 16th, I think.
Really?
Oh. Crushed Kieran Donaghy.
Who'd have thought that a Golf Channel employee would be good at golf?
I mean, you don't get to walk.
We did have this argument yesterday.
You don't get to walk around.
I'm not that surprised by that. Not that surprised by that.
Let's get an update on Joe Malloy and how he's getting on. That's him there. You can tell the very precise. There you go.
Good connection.
He's picking the tee up, is he?
Good golf shot.
He's thinking about it.
No.
That's
he's seeing where it's landing. That is not. That is not hopeful when you're.
He's teeing off before Thom O'Shea though, so that's a good sign.
Did you see Shane Larry's group?
No.
Shane Larry today in the pro-am was playing with Cian Lynch, Shane O'Donnell, and Joe Canning.
All right.
That'd be some crack.
They're just going to talk and say, sure, isn't it terrible the way Offaly have fallen away in recent years?
No periodization issues for Cian Lynch. Like, I got to go and play golf. It's Lahinch. Come on, can I go? Like, you know.
How many any of the three, I wonder, have hurling grips? I always looked at those hurling grips and the lack of a follow through.
The right hand on top.
Yeah.
Just
left hand and left hand below.
But so, like it should be.
No, left hand below.
Below, yeah.
So it kind of prohibits your follow through.
Yeah,
I've seen some lads playing with hurling grips and they're unbelievable golfers. But I've tried it, it's really hard.
A very special Deal or No Deal today. It is free transfer 11s. The two lads both have teams. Phil has an 11 and Owen has an 11. Why are you laughing, Phil?
I'd say they could be the exact same teams. We don't know them.
We don't know for sure, but they're going to be quite similar, I think.
Yeah.
Basically all the free agents have run out. They're all signing for clubs. Don't have much to pick from.
Yeah, there's a deadline we have to get these teams in for.
So will we go through these teams?
Yeah, you go first.
Right, if I can get my team up on screen there. I've gone for Gianluigi Buffon in goal. We've gone for a flat back four. Philippe Luis at left back. Gary Cahill at centre half. Neven Subotic alongside him. Dani Alves at right back.
Where is Dani Alves gone? What are the rumours?
Good question.
Mediocre Premier League team signing Dani Alves, yes. Shirt sales through the roof.
Could be to Asia. Is he, at this point, at the age of 36?
Playing Cup America at the moment, so.
Money hungry.
Get a season out of him.
But I will accept that my team isn't very balanced once we get into the midfield here because, as I say, we're really kind of stuck. Ander Herrera has not signed for a club yet, even though it's going to happen soon. So I'm going with him. I know I might be bending the rules a little bit.
A lot, yeah. He's signing for PSG, right?
Yeah, I've gone, this is a really ropey midfield. I've gone for Hatem Ben Arfa and Samir Nasri.
Two ball winners there, Owen. Two fearless, hard-working ball winners.
Ander Herrera is going to be doing a lot of work in my free agents team.
Where is Hatem Ben Arfa these days?
He was with Rennes last season.
Right.
And I actually commentated on a Rennes game in the Europa League. He still has it.
Nice one.
When he's on, he is on.
I remember he was like the hottest of hot shit for a week and a half. And I was like, hang on, I think this is really worthwhile, this money that everybody has spent on him, and then it just disappeared again.
Unai Emery, he ruined them at PSG.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. Speaking of players who blow hot and cold, my centre forward is Mario Balotelli. I've gone for Arjen Robben.
Is Arjen Robben free?
Yeah.
Arjen Robben is free. So is Frank Ribery. I've gone for Robben. And
totally passed it?
No.
Not really, I don't think. Hence he's made my team. And I've gone for Yassine Brahimi on the left wing, who I think is the best player in this team.
If that was Villa's starting 11 in the Premier League next season, I would be all in. I would be watching every single second. I would be signing up for Villa TV. I would be like, God, make a reality TV series about this. It would be incredible.
Yeah,
bring back Glenn Whelan though, because he was available.
I would actually. I would stick him as like he's the sub for Ander Herrera. When Ander Herrera actually joins PSG, you stick Glenn Whelan into that team. It's fine. I'm happy days.
A couple of people who didn't make it. I could have gone for Adrian in goals, but I just felt Buffon was the better option. Like Moreno was an option at full back if we kind of buy into the idea that perhaps Liverpool didn't suit him or Klopp didn't suit him. Danny Simpson is a free agent, didn't really make the team. You look at other centre halves. Thomas Vermaelen is still going around as a free agent. The other Herrera, Hector Herrera, you'd have to bend the rules to get him into your team as well. You got the likes of Leroy Fair, Mo Diame, and then really in attack is where there's tons of options, as I'm sure. Phil, I was going to go with like 3 number 9s to be quite honest with you, but actually I made a good balanced team that will win games.
Where was Balotelli?
Balotelli was he finished the season with Marseille, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
He played like 12 games, scored 8 goals in between January and now
in France. That's where he should be, right?
Yeah, because he obviously
because like Vieira got rid of him essentially, or Vieira got into loggerheads with him at Nice, and things didn't go great for him there. So that's where he's ended up. Bit of form at the end of the season.
Okay, Phil, give us yours.
Okay, so there is a lot of similarities.
Gigi Buffon, Gary Cahill, Dani Alves, Felipe Luis.
Yeah, now I've got Herrera there, but I've pushed him forward a bit. I've gone for Daniele De Rossi.
Where's he these days?
He's left Roma.
Right,
but Arfa centre forward.
But yeah, I've gone for false 9.
Is Daniele De Rossi like 34?
Ah, yeah, he's still class. Just for.
I'd say he's older than that.
He's going to be. Who do I pick? Do I pick him or Buffon as my captain? I think you got to go for De Rossi as your captain.
Yeah, but like midfield enforcer, the free agents team won't lead itself from midfield.
5 Daniele De Rossi.
So I went for Brahimi because I agree. Like I thought he was so good for Porto in the first leg against Liverpool.
Brilliant, yeah.
He was brilliant in that game. But
I think Arsenal should just go and get Brahimi immediately. Just forget about your 40 million quid for Wilfried Zaha,
which is only a
Daniele De Rossi's 36 this month.
Yeah.
Probably too old.
But he's just going to sit there.
Who are your front 3 again? Sorry.
So I've gone for Brahimi, I've gone for Ben Arfa and Robben. So they're just going to rotate. Like they're going to interlink, and they're going to keep defenders on their toes.
No Daniel Sturridge in any of these teams?
No, we need runners. We need players that can actually run.
Very heavy
Sometimes
consideration.
you've got to realise you've got to play through the pain.
I was thinking Fernando Llorente would have been another option as well.
I was thinking like he could be a sub.
Yeah, Danny Welbeck is another one. Great list of attackers.
Well, surely Spurs are going to just give him another year, are they?
We've got...
no, I'd say
he's done.
You'd imagine he has.
We've got Wilfred Bonney as well.
Not a perfect sub for them. Like, doesn't care about being a sub at this stage. Is happy, no ego, is grand. No?
Yeah, well, it's. I suppose it depends what Spurs want to do with him. But I went for Mo Diame, who under Benitez often discovers these little things during the season, and he kind of stumbled upon Diame and Shelby, not the most recent season, but the season before, and they worked. Now, ultimately, they get injured and they're out, and Longstaff had a good season, but Diame was very good. I went for Miguel Britos as my left centre half because Martin Skirtle was available.
No. I think it's Subotic all day long.
Right, who wins this match between these teams?
Who are the managers of the teams, by the way?
Me and you.
No, because we were talking about this outside in the office, and Arthur came up with a good
free agent manager
for my team. He said Big Sam.
Big Sam.
Well, I'll go for Rafa. He's got a job. He's gone to...
Because Big Sam knows how to get the best out of journeymen.
I'm going at Arsene Wenger. Arsene Wenger managing that team of the most floppiest, flimsy midfielders of all time would be
5-1 win for Phil's team is the correct result of this.
But what a fun ride it was.
Exactly, fair enough. Okay, so very quickly through the transfer rumours today. Nathan Collins to Manchester United, legit or not? This is the Sunbacks page today. Man United will have to pay... Nathan Collins to Manchester United. Yes or no? Deal or no deal? Legit, good idea, bad idea?
I think it's a good idea for both parties, but it's not exactly that high on Manchester United's priority list. This is a talent for the future from Manchester United's perspective.
It could be like do what Spurs are doing with Clark, just loaning him straight back.
Yeah.
Great move for Nathan Collins, potentially. I mean, I know it's a bit of a basket case, but the thing is, how much first-team football are you going to get?
Yeah, I say no, unless you're getting loaned back, right?
Yeah.
That's it. So he has to have a year of first-team football wherever he's going next. Manchester United will have to pay Leicester City more than £90 million for Harry Maguire, according to the Telegraph. That's up from a reported £70 million offer yesterday. But he wants to go to City to play in the Champions League. That's according to The Express. So nobody knows what the hell is going on here. One-word answer is, where does he end up?
United.
Manchester United.
Manchester United. It's a clean sweep, a trifecta of shit for Manchester United. The legitimacy rating.
He will make them better. Don't worry about the money. They've loads of it.
Legitimacy rating on him going for £90 million or more. Is that a true thing? Is it going to happen? Harry Maguire is a £90 million defender.
£70 million plus a sweetener.
Add-ons.
Total bill £90 million, not including wages. Not including the wages, which is another £40 million on top of it.
Yeah, deal. If I'm Edward Wood, I'm just like, screw it. We're getting destroyed in this transfer window, just deal.
Here's a resurrected story from a few weeks ago. The Mail say Real are keen to offload Gareth Bale to Manchester United as part of the deal to sign Paul Pogba.
Deal.
You're taking Gareth Bale?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you'd have to.
You'd have to?
Yeah.
You don't. You can say no. You're allowed.
Well, no, I think the most important part of that deal is that Pogba gets out the door.
Yeah. I think that is important. But you want the money because you need to sign some players and you've got to give this guy the same salary. Although at least Alexis Sanchez will be earning more. I revitalised Alexis Sanchez after having some time in Chile, getting to go to the local cinema and see his own movie.
He's never getting revitalised ever again.
Would this be a good idea for Man United? And what is the legitimacy rating of this story? Do you think this is now likely to happen, yes or no?
Sorry, Gareth Bale
and
no, I don't
cash plus swap deal.
I don't think it's likely to happen, but I think if Manchester United have that opportunity, I think if you can get Gareth Bale on loan and Real Madrid take some of the wages, that is an absolute bona fide
deal. L'Equipe report that Manchester City want Bournemouth Dutch defender Nathan Ake. Is this a good deal and will it happen?
I think it is a good deal. Yeah, he's like a potential at Chelsea.
Why did they get rid of him?
He can play football, and that's what Pep wants. He wants to. So maybe Pep's going to just get Nathan Ake for probably
20 million?
I'd say 30 or 40 million.
Wow.
And then United are spending 90 on Harry Maguire, and then Ake turns out to be better.
Chelsea should have kept him.
Yeah. Ake or Harry Maguire?
It's a conversation, right? It is a conversation.
I think so.
So then you've got to go with Aki and keep the 50 million.
And like Manchester City or Cheshire Cat watching it all happen.
Final one. According to the Mirror, Atletico Madrid want Arsenal and France striker Alexander Lacazette to replace Griezmann. Would it be a good idea for Arsenal to cash in on the attacker?
No, bad deal. He's Arsenal. In my opinion, he was one of Arsenal's most important players, one of their best players last season.
Legitimate story? Yes.
Yeah, I think so. I think so.
Legitimate story. Yeah. More than likely going to happen.
It's an absolute disgrace.
Lacazette there, Aubameyang to Man United, and Arsenal.
They're going to have no more foot left to shoot, Arsenal.
But they have a great jersey, though.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Right, that's all from us on OTBAM this morning. If you've missed anything, go get the podcast. It's available on Spotify. It's available on Go Loud or wherever it is that you get your podcasts over at youtube.com/Off the Ball. Coming up on OTB Sports Radio, we're bringing you a Golf Weekly special with Connor Sketches and Eamon Darcy. Some good stuff from Eamon Darcy as well, just telling the truth, because he can. A Legends interview with Michael Lynagh. A special Saturday panel from back in 2013. How far does doping go? Michael Owen on Life After Football. So some great stuff for you available on OTB Sports Radio. It's on TuneIn. You can get it on Go Loud 24 hours a day or offtheball.com/radio as well. Off the Ball is live from 7 o'clock tonight. Obviously loads of good stuff coming your way from Lahinch. Tomorrow morning on OTBAM, Anthony Moyles is in studio because Owen is at his Free Now gig. The Shot Clock with Kieran Donaghy and Conor Moore. We've got Keith Wood talking about playing in the Irish Open today, and the NFL silly season with Kieran Fahy. We'll see you tomorrow at 7:30. Good luck.
OTB AM. Brought to you by Avantcard Reward Plus Credit Card. Powered by MasterCard. Straight up better than your current credit card. Avantcard DAC is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.